Dadonov running through center ice, breaking in and shooting, saved by Hart. Big rebound, Barkov, he scores! Sasha Barkov makes it 3-1 Panthers. Dadonov for Barkov, for Huberdeau, he shoots, he scores! Hoobie-dooby-doo! 4-1 Florida. And the Cats continue their strong play. And Sergei Bobrovsky, a 35-save effort as the Panthers take it to the Flyers, 5-2.
Almost like we saw on Saturday night when Bobrovsky shut the door in the third period against the New York Rangers to preserve that one-goal win. Well, tonight, he was your star in that third period as the Panthers build it up and then get an empty net goal. Nice team effort. The Panthers homestand rolls on here on Thursday night.
Shine the light. Oh, that was so good last night. Oh, yeah, that Philadelphia freedom. I love kicking that ass. Yes, I do. Oh, yeah. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good middle of the night, depending on when you listen to the podcast, which we love you for it and thank you so much. On a beautiful Wednesday, November 20th, we are rocking and rolling. We got a loaded show for you today. Got several guests. Ian Margol is going to join us, WPLG news anchor, but also a sports guy and knows his Panthers, so we'll have some fun with him and talk a little Panthers. At noon, at 1 o'clock, Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy, not football, it's our basketball segment. I told you we were adding basketball, but we had to kind of figure it out. We thought we were going to do it on Tuesdays, but we're going to do it on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock to accommodate Andy because he's accommodating us. And so we're big fantasy basketball guys, so we'll have Andy on today to talk a little fantasy basketball. I picked up a guy yesterday, actually, and we'll talk about it, that I think might be a little under-the-radar guy. I'm getting greedy anyway because I think I hit on 3 rookie keepers, so I'm trying to get on my 4th. So we'll talk to Andy at 1 o'clock for that. At 2 o'clock, Michelle Kaufman is going to stop by from the Miami Herald for her Inter Miami segment that she does every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and it was a huge day in the Inter Miami family yesterday, watching everything on social media and on TV, and the expansion draft went on. The team added 5 players yesterday, so we'll talk about that. And also they acquired a pick in the super draft, which is amazing. So they've got, I think, the first and third picks in the super draft, if I'm correct. So we'll talk with Michelle Kaufman at 2 o'clock, and we'll get her thoughts on what's going on with Inter Miami. I can't wait. I mean, think about this. How many towns in this country have all 5 sports? It's not a lot. It's even having the 4 major sports, and whether you want to consider hockey major or not or whatever, hell, MLS is just as big pretty much right now at this point, the way they're drawing fans to each game. But it's pretty amazing that we're going to be one of those few cities in the country that have the 5 major sports now, because whether you like it or not, hockey and the MLS are major sports, because if you got 15, 20,000 people attending games, which is what happens in hockey and in the MLS actually averages per game more than hockey and the NBA. Not sure if you know that, but outside of all of that, okay, the fact that we're going to have next year all 5 sports, that's going to be pretty cool. And think about this. Even if you're not a soccer fan, it is going to be your savior for summers, because the Marlins will never save you in the summer because they don't spend any money. As much as we want to see them have success, because I do, I'm a Miami guy. I want all the Miami teams to have success, but I got to be honest, and that is not one area, but the Inter Miami team and Jorge Mas, they're going to spend, and they're going to put together one hell of a product out there on the pitch. and they're going to be one of the best teams in the MLS. So we're going to have a lot of fun down here, and the Summers are going to be picking up big time. And you see our winners. Looks like the Heat are turning the corner. Tonight they play against Cleveland. Got a shot to go 6-0 at home. Pick up their 10th win of the season. They're 9-3 right now. They got a shot at going 10-3 and 6-0 at home and 4-0 on this stretch that we've been talking about. And then last night, you saw the Panthers win 5-2. And I'll tell you, last night, the one thing that really was, I felt great as a Panthers fan. I mean, because it's been a good season. You're 10-5-5 going into that game. Now you're 11-5-5. We really can't complain about the Panther season compared to what's happened in the past. We can nitpick and say Bobrovsky is not sharp. And, hell, even yesterday, the 2 goals that he allowed, I can't say that they were the kind of shots that, oh, my Lord, that's hard for anybody to stop. He could have stopped those too. But anyway, we can nitpick with those kind of things, right? It's funny because a game like yesterday was almost like the offense bailed your ass out, although they did get lots of shots in the third period, right?
The first goal, the one that went off his stick, okay? It was way out of, the blue line.
The knuckleballer?
Yeah. And then the one.
But it didn't go by quickly. It was one of those where he didn't react. And then the one that where he got top shelf.
Supposedly
the
the kid was one of the highest scorers in college, one of the highest
I know
scorers in
that.
the minors. And you saw him go down, and he went top shelf. That was a gorgeous goal.
It was a gorgeous goal,
Up
but
close.
I mean,
Kid's got some skills. He's got some. Give the kid a little. Give the kid a little.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
but
Dombrowski being a superstar, right? You're right. That's too close.
I can
You should block.
nitpick if
Yes.
I want to on that,
Of course.
and that's what we could do with them. But that's how good it is now that we can nitpick this kind of stuff. But they're 11-5-5.
The makeup 15 blocks.
Right.
In the third.
Right.
The guy's standing on his head.
He did what he was supposed to do. And the good thing last night was a comfortable win because, 9 of your 21 games now, right? 21 games. 9 of your 21 games have gone in overtime. So you're ending up in overtime or shootouts with almost half your games already. That's way more ice time than you really want out there. You're putting your players more at risk. You're picking up points, which is great. Don't get me wrong. This is something – there's a lot of positives about what's going on with the Panthers right now. But last night, it was nice to feel that the Flyers got that first goal. And, okay, Panthers answered right back. Within 2 minutes, I want to say they scored their goal to equalize it. After that, the Panthers took control of the game. After that first Flyers goal, they took off. They tied it, they took the lead, and then they never looked back again. And to me, that was needed last night. And that's a pretty good team, too. It's not like some terrible team came in to your home ice, like what's going on with the Heat right now, that they're on a streak that they should be beating down the teams in this 5-game stretch because they are significantly better than those teams. And they're doing it, and they're doing their job. The Panthers faced a really good team last night that had just one less point than them. They had 24, and Florida had 25. That's it. There wasn't much of a difference between the two teams. And you went in and controlled that game and won it. And to me, that was really needed for Panther fans. Not that it's a must. Hey, win, get points, do whatever you have to do, and they're doing it right now, and they're in the playoff grouping. That's all I care about. We've repeated it over and over, and I don't have to for any of you hardcore Panther fans. We're so used to the Panthers dragging ass and being down at the 13th seed at this point in the season. Okay? We're always at the bottom right now and going, wow, man, the Panthers, again, another slow start. No slow starts here. This is a terrific season that they're having right now. We want them. Remember what we were talking about before with I think it was with George Richards that we were talking about this, that right now, the kind of hockey they're playing is the kind of hockey that gets you eliminated in the first round. And that you've got to be better than that, right? And yesterday was the kind of hockey that I'm talking about. They've got to, and that's the thing that Quenneville said, that he he was proud of what they have done. Like, they've done a nice job overall, but he wants them to now take it to another level. And that's what you've got to demand from these guys. And the game last night, it's not that I'm demanding that you have more of those games, but I think for confidence purposes, I think you need it. And I think you also need it for your own sanity too, because again, you don't want to keep going into overtimes and shootouts and all that stuff, because you are putting your players more at risk. You're putting your players more on ice time out there, so you're using them more out there. You'd like to take care of things in regulation like you did last night.
It's a little bit strange. We've always had that high overtime situation, and even with this getting better and being 11-5, we're still the overtime team.
Yeah, but at least they're winning these now, and they're winning the shootouts. They're not losing them.
Right.
That's what would happen.
You're getting that extra point.
The few times that they would end up in that situation, they'd lose them.
We'd come on the short.
Yeah. And the worst part was, how about this, Panther fans? The one that eats you up the most is when they have leads, and it used to happen all the time. The other team would come back to tie and then beat your ass in the overtime in the shootout. And that would be just frustrating, because you had the lead most of the game and then Cave City. That's not how it is anymore. You notice it, right? This is the kind of team that does not give up, comes back all the time, ties it. This team has a much better attitude, and you can tell that the confidence level of the Panthers right now is no doubt at an all-time high under the Dale Talon regime. Obviously, it's Quenneville that he's the guy that raises the level of play of everybody and demands the most. And that's the beauty of having Q behind the bench, because the untested coach and the unproven coach can bitch and can demand, but there is no track record to rely on. And players here, they're like, that dude's got 3 rings. Obviously, he knows what the hell he's doing. I have to do what he says because I know he's a legend in my game. It's the same thing with Riley. And now Spo has it. Spo has the rings. Spo has the knowledge. Spo can tell a player, hey, look, you got to do this. And you get it. Problem is, the last couple of years, they didn't have people in that organization that were on board, and it was kind of screwing things up. And that's what guaranteed salaries will do to you. That's why the whole Dion Waiters situation is going to get crazy. But with the Panthers, the confidence is there now. Now it has translated into better play, more consistent play. The next level is, okay, can we take that step to where the Pittsburghs are at, the Washington Capitals are at? Can we take that step and become one of those Tampa Bay Lightning type teams that, hey, we can hang with them every once in a while? No. We can be one of those kind of teams that is a Stanley Cup type contender. That's the next step for the Panthers now. And that doesn't happen overnight. Again, this goes back to the Dolphin thing. With those of you out there that you think you're going to turn this thing around in the next year, and that's not going to be the case. It's going to take several years to turn this around, to figure everything out, to establish the culture, to get to the point where you can win on a consistent basis and that you're a contender. I'm not talking about getting to 9 or 10 wins and sneaking into the playoffs. That's not that difficult in this league. It's really about becoming a great franchise and being there year in and year out. That is the accomplishment, because once you've established it and once you get to that point that you're able to overcome your own success by drafting well, even late, because that's what Shula did for 30 years. He wasn't picking number 1 and number 5 and number 4 in the draft. Rarely. Very few times he snuck in an 8-8 season and a 6-10. It might have happened, 3-4 times in 30 years or whatever. So most of the time he was picking the 20s, and yet the team was great every year. And that's how it is on all the other teams that are really, really good. Packers aren't picking early all the time, and neither is Seattle, and neither is Baltimore, and neither is New England. All these teams normally are in the playoffs year in and year out, and they're picking in the 20s to 30s. And they're still in the playoffs year in and year out. And there's a reason, because you know what the hell you're doing. What have I told you guys? And a lot of you have picked up this saying. It's not where you pick, it's who you pick. You can end up with Eddie Moore, or you can choose Anquan Bolden. You can end up with Jamar Fletcher, or you can choose Drew Brees. It's up to you. The pick is there. You just got to make the right pick. That's all. And that's been the Dolphin history. You made the wrong pick. Doesn't matter where you were. First, second round, whatever. You were in the second round. You had a shot at a quarterback. You chose not to go with the quarterback. You chose John Avery instead of Vonnie Holliday or Randy Moss. Whatever. It's been like that forever, and it doesn't matter if it's Jimmy, because Jimmy did great on the defensive side. The offensive side is where he stunk out the place in his draft picks and trades and all that other stuff. Wanstead, Cam Cameron, Saban, you name it, all these guys, they all did the same thing. At one point or another, they set their team back, right? And the second go-around with Brees, you could have gotten Brees, but you went Culpepper. It's all about decision-making. That's what it's all about. And the Panthers have made all the right decisions now. They got a lot of young guys that now we're watching them develop. I mean, Barkov and Huberdeau, and that line that's scary. And you signed them all. So you've got the ownership group that's super committed. They went and got a goaltender. They went and got a Hall of Fame coach. And now they have found their confidence. And this is all part of it. And the other thing that Dale Talon does, Connolly. I mean, you start to look around, Vetrano, and all these guys, Achari. It's amazing. He also adds Boyles out there, and he brings them in, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? And Dale Talon, that's what front offices are all about. Okay? Even if you're having success, you need to make the right decisions. It's not that, oh, well, now we suck and we're picking early. We got to nail and hit on that pick. You got to hit on that pick every year. Okay? And you could screw it up early on in that draft. And as great a guy as Ronnie Brown is, and he's phenomenal, he never lived up to being the number 2 pick in the draft. That was Saban's pick. It was a decent pick, but it wasn't a great pick. A number 2 draft pick should be the guy that changes the face of your franchise. And it wasn't. Good player, solid player, great guy, phenomenal human being, but he wasn't a number 2 worthy draft pick. Jake Long was worthy. Only problem was he ended up with the injuries. Thanks to Tony Sperano, the late Tony Sperano, who felt like playing him in the fourth quarter of a preseason game in a rainy field that was, a baseball muddy field. And he injured the knee, and from there on out, it was never the same again. Poor guy kept compensating for one injury or another, and it led to every other injury. But last night was a moment that was fun, and it was needed for Panther fans. It was needed in a big-time way. We needed that game where they were just absolutely cruising. Beautiful thing.
That improving, like you're talking about and whatnot, we are tied for 4th in the whole conference, 2nd in the Atlantic, and them being 1 point behind. That's that playoff blah. Are you 5 or 6 on the road, or are you 3 or 4 at home?
Right.
It's open, and that making progress.
Oh, big time.
Plus the record of the teams we played, no slouches, man.
Very
few.
This is headed in the right direction. It's been headed in the right direction for a while now, and I understand that a lot of you, it's like, well, I've been told this, nah, and the Panthers always fall short and all that, and I get it. Most people don't follow them, and now I think you'll start to believe, and you'll get on the bandwagon, and the fringe fan, the casual fan, all those kind of people are going to get on board now, because I saw it in the mid-'90s. I covered it. I was in those locker rooms, and I saw the average to fringe fan get completely on board, because hockey's a blast, man. Hockey's a blast.
It's the best to watch live.
No, not even close.
There is no sport. Yeah.
Not even close.
You know what? 21 games in, we got a pretty good – we're 25% through.
Yeah.
Like, this is for real.
Yeah, no doubt. And, folks, there's only 10 months left to reopen your IRMA claim. Don't settle for less. For a free inspection, call East Coast Public Adjusters at 855-GET-ECPA. And we thank the great people at East Coast Public Adjusters for joining us here on the program and being a proud sponsor. And please support our sponsors who are making all of this happen on a daily basis, so we can give you the hardcore sports talk that you're really not getting anywhere in South Florida. And also, no politics, no nothing, you know what I mean? So that's the beauty. We can actually say what we feel, and you can't get that anywhere in local radio. Plus, you're going to be stuck with a half hour of commercials and promos and updates and traffic reports that you don't need. And it's funny. Let's give you a traffic report, but I've got Waze. Let's give you an update, but I've got my phone. It's like you're wasting my time listening to all kinds of stuff that you don't need anymore. And that's why we tell you that you can listen to us, and we eliminate a lot of that, and you get a lot of the substance. The other thing that I want to talk about, and I can nitpick on this a little bit with the Panthers, and I mentioned this on Twitter. I put out some examples, I think it was about a week and a half ago. Yesterday, Jonathan Huberdeau got hit in the face with a cross. Got the stick in the face. It was Huberdeau, right? Right.
It was Huber right by the goal,
right,
and they little chip, and the guy got up.
Right. And what I want to know is, why is it always the Panther player getting his ass kicked? Why is it the Panther player that ends up on the ice? Why is it that it's always the other team most of the time doing the enforcing? And I think there needs to be a change from this team, and maybe they don't have it. Maybe that's not who they are. And if that's not in their DNA, it is what it is, and I've talked about this before. But 90% of the time, what you saw last night, and I'm not condoning that kind of behavior, but it's part of the game. So what do you want me to do? If fighting is part of the game and taking shots at guys and knocking them to the ice is part of the game, well then, my man, then you guys need to start doing that more often.
Are you saying we need a Rocky from the movie Youngblood?
Yes.
That goon?
I'm saying bring on the Hanson brothers. I don't care, bro. I'm old-time hockey. I don't care. What I'm tired of is watching our guys take the beating. Okay, I want the other guy with the bloody mouth. I want the other guy on the ice. I want the other guy getting smashed into the boards. Okay, that's what I want. Not that I'm asking that you become a dirty team, but I am saying if everyone else is going to be physical, and I mean everyone else, then you guys need to be physical too. Because I don't know if you're going to be able to just be finesse all the way through the playoffs and to get to a Stanley Cup. I think at times you're going to have to get physical. At times you're going to have to intimidate. And at times you're going to have to send a message that, hey, the line's in the ice right here, bro. That ain't happening here. And I would have liked to have seen somebody take that dude out. I forgot the guy's name yesterday. That hit Huberdeau. I would have liked to seen later on a little revenge and somebody take that fool out. So that way the mess. Hey, in baseball they do it all the time, right? They do all that stupid ass stuff. You hit a home run, that is stupid. When you hit a home run, they plunk you. But if you plunk my guy, then I'm going to plunk your guy after. Same thing here. I don't see enough retaliation. I don't see enough physicality, and I don't see enough ass kicking from the Panthers. And I think you need a certain level of that. And we could talk, and we've mentioned this ad nauseum. Goodbranson. The day you traded him away, you traded away your physical identity. Whatever it is, I'm not saying that you need to bring back Goodbranson, but he at least set that tone for the rest of the team. And he wasn't going to take any crap. And he was going to take somebody out if they needed to be taken out. And last night, the dude that hit Huberdeau needed to be taken out. I'm just saying, Cats need to pick it up on the physical side. I don't like seeing our guys be the guys that get beaten up.
You know what? It can't. And your stars can't get,
especially
because it sends a message to the rest of the league that we could go pick on these guys.
Right.
Do we need a Paul Laws to make come in and do a little butt kicking and?
Hell yes. Hells to the yes. In fact, Paul Laws probably saw that scene last night and said, "Get me on the ice right now." Okay? All right, when that guy comes out of the box, release the hounds. Here I go. Unleash the beast.
I can see the
Release
three.
the Kraken.
I can see the three Branson brothers coming over the wall with their glasses on and the tape, and right away.
Yeah, take them out. Take them out. I'm sorry, but if they're going to be physical, I'd like our Panthers to be physical. That's all I'm saying. They need that in a big-time way. We'll talk to Ian Margot about that at the top of the hour. He's going to join us at noon. We got a loaded show for you today. Ian Margot from WPLG will join us at noon. Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy Basketball. Remember, football will be on Fridays. Basketball will be on Wednesdays. And if you have any fantasy basketball questions, send them in on the accidentlawfirm.com text line, 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105 if you want to get in on the accidentlawfirm.com text line. And, of course, you can send them in on Twitter at Big O Show. Many ways to send in your fantasy basketball questions for Andy Behrens at 1 o'clock. We'll have a little fun with that. Heat back in action tonight. They are hosting the Cavs, who are 4-9, 2-5 on the road. Miami is 5-0 at home. And hopefully you can continue to be 6-0 at home and 4-0 in this stretch against bad teams. I see where Riley addressed the media the other day and talked 2 days ago and talked about being ready to make a move if necessary. And that will be the thing. I'm kind of torn with all of this, right? When I heard him say that, and yeah, I want him to make a move. There's no doubt I want him to add a star. But there's also intrigue with what's developing within your team as it is. Because once you're able to unload that James Johnson contract after next season and the Dion Waiters one, you are going to be able to open up a load of money for another star. In the process, and I know the whole thing is about winning a championship, and I get it, and Pat Riley's in his 70s, and maybe he doesn't have the patience or that kind of stuff. But I love what I'm seeing from Kendrick Nunn and from Tyler Hero and from all these young guys. And I'm intrigued to see where it goes. Because, I don't know, maybe one of these guys has star ability to them. I have no idea. I'm not smart enough to know that. See, the thing about basketball that has changed compared to 20 and 30 and 40 years ago is the draft and the way it's constructed now. Because kids only stay 1 year now, the really good players, and then they leave. Some of them are not even going to college, and they're going overseas. And so what ends up happening? You don't end up getting 4 years of Lou Carnesecca. and 4 years of John Thompson and 4 years of Dean Smith and 4 years of Denny Crum and 4 years of Rick Pitino and prostitutes. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that? I'm sorry. Anyway, so you're not getting the education that you used to get as a basketball player. We used to get more polished players coming into the NBA draft because you were 3 years or 4 years with said coaches. And when you're 3 or 4 years with those kind of coaches, you are going to become a much better basketball player. Jim Boeheim is going to get you ready for the NBA. But if Jim Larrañaga only has you for 1 year, and if our boy in Florida State, what's his name now? I'm forgetting his name. In Florida State.
Oh, Leonard Hamilton?
Leonard Hamilton and Steve's, I think is it Steve Smith or whatever? His assistant coach has been with him for 30 years. He's kind of the X's and O's guy. If those guys only have you for a year, then how do you learn? How do you become a player? And they can only work with you. They don't even have you for a year. They have you for maybe 7-8 months. By the time you walk in and leave after the basketball season is done, and then you're off to the NBA. And
are you saying those kids don't finish the school year at least?
No, I'm saying they don't even have. No, they don't even have a whole year there. They don't even stay a calendar year.
Oh, right, yeah, from May to May, yeah.
No, they're not even there in May.
They touch in September or
the
whatever.
second the tournament's done, they walk out of class and they never go back.
You're saying they do leave. Yes.
Yeah, of course they leave, dude. Yeah, bro, they have no
Those
intentions.
kids don't want a degree, man.
They got years left. They're not going to get no degree. And you look at all of that, right? So now what happens? What happens is players now fall all through the cracks because it's so much harder for NBA teams to scout talent now. Because now you've got to figure out a kid that's barely a high school player. He left high school 7 months ago, played a little bit in college. You don't really get a feel. And if he was on a team that was kind of talent heavy and experienced heavy, he didn't get nearly as much playing time. And in 1 year, you don't get to see them under every scenario, in every situation. You don't get to see them grow. You don't get to see them develop. You don't get to see if they know how to learn from 1 year to another. Oh, he developed a post game. Oh, he developed an outside shot. Oh, he developed a mid range. Oh, he fixed his turnovers. You don't get to see any of that. He's become a better shot blocker because he's been in the league for 3 years now, and because John Thompson was teaching him throughout the entire time, and he got better. These kind of things don't exist anymore. So when you're not getting taught by a Hall of Fame coach for 3 to 4 years in college, and then the NBA gets you, now you got a much better chance of succeeding. The fact that you go through high school and then you only play 1 year of college and then you're done, it's so much harder. So guys are going to slip through the cracks. And a guy like Kendrick Nunn, you're going to end up finding. And you're going to find guys like this from now on. You're going to find players in the G League. You're going to find players a year or two removed from high school because it's such a crap science now at this point, because there's no way of really figuring out how a kid is going to translate to a man's game when you haven't put that young man through the torture of high-level college basketball for 3 to 4 years.
Their sophomore and junior years are on your watch.
Right, yeah, exactly. And that's where and they've got to develop their bodies, they've got to develop their maturity, they've got to develop their minds, their IQs, and I'm talking about the basketball IQ, which they have no idea at that point. And that's why this system that they've got going on now in the NBA is such a challenge. And those teams that use the G League as a true resource, the Miami Heat, the Houston Rockets, certain teams, they're going to be able to unearth talent. And you're going to be able to develop a Duncan Robinson. And you're going to be able to find, not on the G League, but you found a Udonis Haslem, and you develop that. These are the kind of things that you're going to have to do. And Kendrick Nunn is another guy that you end up getting off somebody's squad, and you put him in your summer league, and then all of a sudden, There you go. You developed a player. And this is a guy that kind of slipped through the cracks. And even Golden State didn't realize what they had on their roster when they had Kendrick Nunn. That's because it's so hard to do the scouting here. Look at Whiteside. Whiteside bounced around. Miami got him and got the most that they could out of him. He's still a bum. He's still lazy and all that good stuff. And he helped Portland last night lose. But I'm sure he was happy. 14 points, 14 rebounds. He probably thought he was phenomenal. He got his stats. But that's part of this game. And that's where I'm intrigued that if you do add a star, it's great, no doubt. But will it hurt the development of some of these young guys that you are giving plenty of playing time to, and they're showing out? And remember, you're not paying much. You won't have to pay much early on for these guys. That's pretty good. And that's a good deal. Now, Riley's open for a big deal. If it happens, great. And I hope the right deal comes along. But if it doesn't, I got to say that as a Heat fan, I am more than satisfied with what's going on right now with the Miami Heat. I'm really excited about the future because I'm a fan of young players and watching them develop and developing a core and those kind of things. That's why I kind of like what's going on with the Dolphins. Instead of going and buying old guys every year and veteran free agency and all that crap, they're going to build through the draft. And they're going to teach their players and build a core of players and go through youth. This is something that Miami's never done. Remember, the last time Miami built through the draft, they were names like Cycli and Rice and Sherman Douglas and Grant Long and Billy Thompson and all that.
Willie Burton,
all that. Alec Kessler. And that was the last time they truly built through the draft.
Wow, you're talking about our inception, man.
Right, because with Riley, it's never really been about that. It's acquiring Hardaway, it's acquiring Mourning, it's acquiring Mashburn, it's acquiring Shaq, it's acquiring the big three, it's all that stuff.
Kevin Willis for a half a minute.
The part is that you drafted Wade, but that's what should have shed the light that your draft pick was the centerpiece of all your championships. So it paid off to draft and unearth your own talent. And right now, it's paying off once again for the Miami Heat because Tyler Hero's their own. Kendrick Nunn, they didn't necessarily initialize it, but they kind of made it their own because they unearthed them. They saw something that Golden State didn't because they made the move that said, no, we like this kid. Let's bring him aboard. And then the Silva kid is here, and Duncan Robinson is here. And I like that. I find that to be extremely impressive and priceless because you're not even using draft picks, something you don't have.
No, we don't have a 1 in 21 or 23.
No, they don't have a 1 for like 700 years from now. And they don't. And their twos also. They've traded a bunch of their twos away. It's not a team that has a lot of draft picks in the future. So you got to do this. You got to be forced to do this. You got to work your G League. You got to work everybody else's roster. If there's a guy that's got some skills and you think because remember, that's the other thing. The Heat are better than most teams at developing their own players. And they maximize. Even a bum like Whiteside, they got more out of a bum like Whiteside than anybody else. They got enough that they gave him the confidence that he can go to Portland and at least try to play basketball there. But if it's not for the Heat, he's probably still in the YMCA. You know, that's probably the truth. Because the Heat were able to push him to an extent that at least he was somewhat productive. And this goes on for all their players. Everybody gets better under the Miami Heat. Even if you're a superstar, even if you're LeBron James, you will improve your game when you're here with the Miami Heat. Because they made him a post player. They told him, no, we need you to be more of a post player. And sure enough, just like with Wade, they developed a shot, and Bosh, they put him out in the 3, all that stuff. They made their stars better. So what do you think they're going to be able to do to regular players? Obviously, they're going to be able to elevate their game and get them to another level. And that, to me, is the exciting part, that when I hear Riley is ready for a move, I am a little hesitant, only because I'm really excited about what they're developing with the guys around Jimmy Butler right now. And this is a team that can be competitive against most teams. Obviously, when you run into LeBron and Anthony Davis, that's just a combination of superstars that it's near impossible to match. And really, Jimmy's not one of those guys either. You would have to go get yourself a superstar so you can at least somewhat hang there in that territory, because those are two of the elite players in this league. That's hard to match up.
To get a superstar, you got to give up stuff. We don't have draft picks really to give up. And the young guys, man, we don't want to give those up.
That's right. You're going to have to give up.
Like, how do we maneuver?
That's
I mean, not to take it away from Riley. If anybody can figure it out, Riley does it.
That's what you're going to have to do.
He brought us Jimmy Butler. But nonetheless, you're talking about another one. Like, where do we go weak again? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Hey, let me tell you about Choice Mortgage Bank, folks. We can still get you into a fixed mortgage rate under 3.5%. Please call Michael Kodsey right now. Let's get you out of that bad deal. Military veterans, we got 0% financing. We got programs like that. Let's consolidate those bills. Right now, interest rates are going down, so take advantage. Maybe we can get you into a 15-year lease. That way, you're not tied to a 30. And if you're paying 4, 5, 6% right now, let's get you out of those bad deals. Call Michael Kodsey right now, the owner's personal cell number, 561-441-2730. That's 561-441-2730.
Plus tax, tech title. It includes $8.99 dealer fee on approved credit offers and 11/10/19.
Over 1,500 Toyotas are on the ground, and truckloads of new 2020 Toyotas just keep on coming. To eliminate all 2019 models, Toyota of Hollywood is holding the ultimate 2019 model year changeover event. Make us an offer, any offer, and you can buy a Toyota at up to 50% less than their original MSRP when new and used.
50% less.
A pre-owned 2019 RAV4, not $30,000, $19,775. A pre-owned 2019 Camry LE, not $26,000, $17,775. A pre-owned 2019 Corolla LE, not $22,000, $12,775. Pay up to 50% less at Toyota of Hollywood, the #1 volume Toyota dealer, based on total retail sales of new Toyotas in the Southeast region for 2014 to 2018 per SET, on 441 between Hollywood Boulevard and Sheridan Street. Open till midnight.
No one expects to get into a crash, but I expect you to go to accidentlawfirm.com if you do. Make sure when hiring a driver you go through a rideshare app so that you can be covered by the insurance, which can be up to $1 million whether you're a passenger or a driver. In other words, don't try to save a few bucks by paying cash instead of going through the app. I'm attorney Bobby Nunez from Nunez Law in Miami, and we're here to help you through the process. Go to accidentlawfirm.com for a free consultation from me, Bobby Nunez. That's accidentlawfirm.com.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Bum, bum, ba-na-na-na. All right, welcome back. Thank you to all tuning in here on the program. We are going to go now to the Brian Flores press conference. Let's see if we can pull that up, my man, and have a little fun with Brian Flores. Bill is going to pull it up. Brian already had his press conference. We'll go over that press conference today, and we'll let you hear what Coach Flores had to say today. Obviously, with the whole Mark Walton situation, we want to get his reaction on it, and I wanted to make sure we got the whole press conference before we did anything here. And listen, I want to get into all this stuff too, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the Panthers because they deserve it. Bill, are we ready yet with Coach Flores? All right, let's hear from the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. He just addressed the media.
helping his teammates get lined up, and then he's just a good overall football player. I thought the transition to safety was a good one, and one this team needed, and he played well for us. And obviously until the unfortunate injury, and then Gerald, he's a young tackle who's got some athleticism, some quickness, and some pass rush ability. Some showed in practice that he can play both run and pass. So we're going to try to give him an opportunity to earn a role this week. So, but happy with both guys.
With Mark Walton, any regrets? I know you said you think people are deserving of second chances. Any regrets on giving Mark a second chance?
It's an unfortunate situation. We felt like we had to make the move to release him, and that's what it is. And but yeah, an unfortunate situation. You never want to see anything like that happen. So tough.
Does the failure there going forward make you rethink how you evaluate character?
I think we as an organization, Chris, Brandon, obviously we character is something we spend a lot of time on, and in this case, it didn't work out with Mark, and but it's case by case, and I think that's kind of the thought process for us as a staff and as an organization.
What do you hope Van Ginkel can bring to the defense?
When we drafted him, we thought we were getting a young, physical, smart, tough, young player. Can play a few different roles and has some pass rush, has some set edge ability, has some special teams value. So, we'll see. He's did a good job, early in training camp, and last week he had strung a couple good practices together. So we'll see how that goes. See if he can carve out a role for himself this week.
Will start you guys good this week?
Yes.
Is there a scenario you see short of injury that Rosen starts a game for this team the rest of the season?
I don't have a crystal ball, so anything can happen from that standpoint. Fitz has done a good job. Rosen's obviously developing in practice. I know you guys don't see that, but he's definitely making some strides. So to sit here and say it'll be one guy the whole way, I've done that before and I was wrong then. So you just never know.
What does Josh do to win that job back?
Josh just needs to try to improve every day. Try to get better on a daily basis, and improve on his, getting the ball out quickly, game management, just overall. And again, I think he is improving, and we'll see how it goes.
Brian, you talked about the challenge of facing an offense with as many dynamic playmakers as the Browns have.
It's definitely a big challenge. They're everywhere. And then they just brought up the tight end, Njoku. So from Landry to, Beckham to, Chubb to Hunt, it's to Mayfield, you're just on and on and on. We're going to have to play a very good team defense to stop this high-powered offense. And, they really have guys really everywhere, offensively, defensively, and on special teams. So it's a good team. It'd be a really, really tough challenge for us.
Right, regarding Rashad Jones, he's a guy who spent a long time with the organization. Mm-hmm. Did you get to know him very well? Because I know he wasn't here for all of the off-season program.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on him?
I think, I've gotten to know him very well. And I think this is a tough, a very, very good player, good person as well. I like Rashad a lot. I think he brings a toughness, a grittiness, a love of the game that this and he brought a lot to this team. So in getting to know him, he was you could see why he's been such a productive player for a long time. Yeah.
Do those things convince you that he should be a part of the organization moving forward? I'm just thinking honestly. I haven't thought about that, to be quite honest. When a guy goes down, that's not the first thing that comes to mind. You're just worried about the kid and him getting healthy. But yeah, I mean, this is a good player who's been productive in this league for a long time. So yeah, you got me on that one, Armando. It wasn't something I've really thought about. You kind of when a guy goes on IR, you think about really the next day, the next couple of days, what's gonna how that's gonna impact him. So no, I haven't thought about that, but just off off the top of my head, yeah, I think this is a guy who's showed that he can play in this league, still play in this league, and we'll see how that goes.
What did you see in Colbert to warrant adding him to the roster?
We saw a young player who has speed, has athleticism, started games in this league, and we just felt like he's a guy who Chris, Brandon, the personnel staff have done a lot of evaluations on and kind of had an eye on him for a while. So we just felt like with the losses at the position, this was the best guy available, and we'll get him involved today and through the course of the week, and see if he's can carve out a role for himself on Sunday. We'll see.
Well, you're in a kind of unique situation, being one of the youngest coaches in the league and having a quarterback around kind of close in age with you. What's your relationship been like with him, and what's it kind of been to kind of see him kind of bounce back up after every hit, have a smile on his face all the time, showing his love for the game?
I mean, it's great to see that. You want that from really every position, especially the quarterback position. He's tough. He's a leader. Guys rally around him. He loves to play. He loves to practice. And whether you're a young coach or an old coach, or you want to see that out of every player, and whether he's a younger player or an older player. But that leadership by example to a young team is something that I think is valuable.
I think he's, you don't have the crystal ball here, but he's played really well, and he's been able to play every game this season. Is that ideal? Would you like to see him? Are you confident that he's able to finish this season?
I'm hopeful that all guys finish. That they can. That's something we talk about. Finishing games, finishing practice, finishing really everything we do. So. Yeah, I'd love to see him and the rest of this team finish and stay healthy and and continue to grow, build, and improve. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. Yeah.
Was the Gary Jennings thing something that you think he can recover from to be back for the off-season program? And were there flashes you saw in his week and a half here that intrigued you about the future, because he's obviously under contract for a while?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, we talked about this last week. He's fast. He's young. He's fast. He's got size. He's got athletic ability. He can play in the kicking game. And again, we only had him for a short period of time, but he showed some things that made us feel like we could play him in a game. So I think coming back in the off season and getting into that part of it. I think that'll be good for him. So, yeah, I think he'll be able to help us.
Sorry, you've lost 3 starters in the last 2 days. That's a lot, even by NFL standards. How would you describe the challenge with all the moving parts you've had in the last few weeks, getting through these last 6 weeks, being competitive, and
Yeah.
seeing what you got?
I think we've had moving parts really the entire season. It's something that started early, and there's been a move here or there throughout the year, and I think as a staff, we just try to get the guys who are going to be available to us ready to play, and try to put them in good positions to play well based on their ability and really the ability of whatever unit that happens to be, whether it's a nickel group or a 11 personnel offensive group or a kickoff return group. So just try to put the best group together
That a lot of things go into that. It means we may have to simplify some things with this group. It means we may be able to get it more exotic with some other groups. There's a lot of, things that go into it. But a lot of it, is up to the player and sets of players to make the most of their opportunities when those opportunities present themselves. And I think we've had, a lot of guys, step up, when they've gotten an opportunity. And that's what, really, I don't know, get on the soapbox, but that's what life's about. You get an opportunity, for whatever reason, whether it's injury or, we move on from somebody and another guy gets an opportunity to step in. It's a chance for them to take advantage and try to carve out a role for themselves on this team and really in this league and carve out and, create a career or try to create a career for themselves. So that's kind of how I look at it.
I believe you guys were going to bring Mark back initially, but how did it look for the rest of the running back room, particularly those rookies, now that he's not, and they're going to have to carry a little for the rest of the year?
I mean, he hasn't been with us for 2 weeks, so it's just what it's been the last couple of weeks. Kalen, Miles, Pat Laird, D. Turner. So, those are the guys in the room. That's what it's been. I mean, we've been without Mark the last couple of weeks, and we just need to continue doing what we've been doing the last 2 weeks. And those guys have to step up. It's really what it boils down to.
There you go. That is the head coach of your Miami Dolphins, Brian Flores. Really nothing big there. Obviously the Mark Walton stuff, and I'm glad he didn't kind of fall for the banana in the tailpipe or get suckered into it about, do you have any regrets on giving him the chance? And he had the perfect answer for it, which is a case-by-case situation. And that's the way you should look at things, because not everybody's the same. Not every infraction's the same. Not every crime's the same. Not every situation's the same. Not every person is the same. So you have to, that's one of those things you have to manage. And that's where I would say that when I look at the Dolphins, I can't say that was the wrong move. I agree with the coach. I agree with the Dolphins. I think they did the right move in giving Mark Walton an opportunity. Maybe he went through a bad moment in his life. Clearly, and remember, we asked Manny Navarro about this, and Manny said that when he was at the U, he had his former high school coach there with him that kind of helped him maybe stay on the straight and narrow over there at the U, and that's why we never heard anything when he was at the U. But then the second he left the U and he went to the pros, things went completely awry with the kid. And now he's in a suspension, and apparently he doesn't handle time very well. And look what he ends up doing. He ends up assaulting his pregnant girlfriend or whatever she is to him. And this is just unacceptable at every level. I hope Mark Walton serves a nice long jail sentence, because that's what he deserves. And I hope the NFL goes extremely hard on Mark Walton. Personally, this is a guy that should be banned from the NFL. Okay? You made your mistake. You made 3 of them, by the way. You got arrested 3 times, and they still gave you a chance. And even the judge did not give you any real jail sentence or any serious probation. It was like that non-reporting probation type thing, which is nothing. They gave you every break in the book because, of course, you got money. Anybody that's got a little cash, you could always get out of a lot of things that normally most people cannot if they don't have cash. That's how this world works. You got the break, and this is what you did with the break. The Dolphins gave you, not only did they give you a chance to earn a roster spot, they actually gave you the opportunity to win the starting job in the NFL. You could have one of the 32 starting NFL jobs in the world. And this is how you reward the Dolphins. This is how you reward the coaches. The people that gave you an opportunity, your hometown team. That was the other thing. Not only do you get a second chance, not only do you get a roster spot, not only do you get a chance to be a starter, not just a roster spot, your hometown team is doing this for you. You should feel like, I don't know, like God himself has put his arm around you and said, hey, I'm here with you all the way. Because to be that fortunate that the judge really doesn't take it out on you and you don't end up in jail and you get to be a professional football player and this is what you do? Come on, man. That's the part that you just got to look at Mark Walton and say, you're just an effing idiot, man. That's all. You're just a moron. You're a criminal. You're a pig. You're disgusting. You're despicable at every level. You get every opportunity in the world, every break in the world, and you spit at everybody in the face by going out and beating a pregnant woman. I mean, that part just, it's ridiculous. And again, the Dolphins should not be worried about this whole thing coming back at them. You know, that should not be an issue. They did the right thing.
There's something really wrong with this guy. Straight up. This many
obviously.
arrests, and for him to get this chance to know that he's okay. You took the suspension 4 games. You know what I mean? You're not cleared. You're in it right now. You're dealing with something, and you go and compound it by doing this. Come on, man.
Yeah. No, this guy.
Like serious. You're stupid. You're really dumb.
No, he's just a scumbag. That's all he is. That's all he is. He's just a scumbag. Nothing. There's no other way of looking at Mark Walton. He's a freaking lowlife. Because only a lowlife does that. Only a lowlife gets every break in the book, and you're too stupid to take advantage of every break in the book. I mean, you get a chance. Embrace it, man. Make the most of it. And this is how he makes the most of it? Just despicable. It's just, it really reminds you that this is a guy that didn't deserve a second chance. This is why sometimes I've said on my show for many years that sorry doesn't fix everything. And we have this society that we think sorry fixes everything. And that any excuse is an excuse for you to get out of something. And it's not. And that's not the way things should be treated. And sorry cannot fix everything. Especially when you're beating women, kids, and dogs. There's no sorry with that. There's no apology that corrects that. Mark Walton is a guy that deserves an extremely long jail sentence because he is a criminal. Okay? That's the bottom line. He's a criminal. And he already has done criminal acts and got away with it, and now committed another disgusting criminal act. It is time for him to no longer get breaks. It is time for him to put on an orange jumpsuit and get in jail and be there for a long time. So maybe, just maybe, he can learn a lesson. And more importantly, we get him off the streets because the community is safer with Mark Walton in jail.
You don't blame the Dolphins for this. I mean,
no.
He did deserve a second chance. You gave it. You just screwed up by picking the wrong guy, right?
I'm good with I'm good. The Dolphins. Hey, everybody deserves a second chance,
right?
Okay, the guy got his second chance, and that's it. It's over. I'm not about the third and the fourth and the fifth chances. And as for your second chance, I think you got to earn it too sometimes. Not just be given that second chance. Sometimes you got to earn that second chance. And he didn't really earn that second chance. He was given every break in the book. But I'm good with the Dolphins. They did the right thing all the way through. They did the right thing by giving him a second chance. They coached him up as much as they could. They gave him a great opportunity. He ruins the opportunity. They wasted no time, and they released him. And that's the right thing to do. There was no way you hang on to him. There's no way you try to reach him. There's no way you try to correct it. Nothing. It's up to him now. Let him. See, here's the thing with human beings. We can only help you so much. It does get to a point where you have to help yourself. If you're dealing with a problem, with an addiction, with whatever it is that you're dealing with, you got to find a way. You got to dig deep inside and find a way to help yourself. Because people can give you assistance, but they cannot accomplish your goal for you. You must meet people halfway. You can go to treatment all you want for any kind of problem that you have, but if you don't meet that person halfway, you will never resolve your issue. And there has to be some level of discipline. There has to be some level of responsibility. And unfortunately, Mark Walton doesn't seem to possess any of that. And when you don't have the common sense to realize what's been given to you, are you kidding me? That's the part that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And bless you. Remember, you can get in on the accidentlawfirm.com text line at 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105 at 1 o'clock. We will have our second fantasy basketball. No, it's first. It's first. Didn't we do like fantasy basketball for fun just on the side in a football segment? We haven't done a fantasy basketball, or did we?
I think we did. And it was right before Andy left, because the next week is when the gentleman
Scott Pianowski.
Yes, Pianowski. Thank you. Stood in. It was the week before last week.
Okay, all right. So
was
we
our
have
first. Yes.
Okay, all right. So we'll have
but
another.
But we did have a touch, so it's like 1.5. We're
all right.
in. Okay?
So we'll have another fantasy basketball segment for you at 1 o'clock. At 2 o'clock will be our Inter-Miami segment that we do every week with Michelle Kaufman. Big news yesterday with Inter-Miami. They picked up 5 players and some other news. So we'll talk to Michelle about that. She'll break it down for us and tell us about all of those players that they picked. And, of course, you can go pick a whole bunch of donuts at Dandy Donuts, like the Boston Cream, the Vanilla Cream, the Apple and Spice, the Lemon, the Strawberry, the Plain Cruller, the Oreo, the Blueberry Cake. You can enjoy a delicious breakfast, a delicious lunch, and, man, those breakfasts, all the jumbo eggs, the omelets, are so good. Bobby and that incredible staff out there, they know how to get it done. The Dandy Dog, have you tried the Dandy Hot Dog over there? All the gigantic subs, the Dandy Burgers, 9-ounce burgers. I've been telling you about Dandy Donuts for well over 10 years now. 102 North 28th Avenue, Hollywood location only. Go see my friends there at Dandy Donut Factory.
Plus tax, tech title. It includes $8.99 dealer fee on approved credit offers and 11/10/19.
Over 1,500 Toyotas are on the ground, and truckloads of new 2020 Toyotas just keep on coming. To eliminate all 2019 models, Toyota of Hollywood is holding the ultimate 2019 model year changeover event. Make us an offer, any offer, and you can buy a Toyota at up to 50% less than their original MSRP when new and used.
50% less.
A pre-owned 2019 RAV4, not $30,000, $19,775. A pre-owned 2019 Camry LE, not $26,000, $17,775. A pre-owned 2019 Corolla LE, not $22,000, $12,775. Pay up to 50% less at Toyota of Hollywood, the #1 volume Toyota dealer, based on total retail sales of new Toyotas in the Southeast region for 2014 to 2018 per SET, on 441 between Hollywood Boulevard and Sheridan Street. Open till midnight.
Thinking about buying or refinancing a home? Act now. Home values are ticking up. Don't put off making a move any longer. Call Michael Kodsey now at Choice Mortgage Bank, 561-441-2730, while mortgage interest rates are still at historical lows. Call now to get pre-approved and buy your dream home. If you're currently paying over $800 a month for rent, call 561-441-2730 now before interest rates go up. Down payments as low as 3.5%. Veterans may qualify for no money down. If you own a home, but you're upside down, Michael Kodsey can help. If you're being denied by your bank or your loan process is taking too long, call 561-441-2730. Act now while fixed rates are still under 3.5%. Offices in Boca and Boynton Beach. Rates and terms subject to change daily without notice. Equal housing lender. NMLS 122081.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Oh yeah, we're ready to rock. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Thank you for tuning in. Ian Margol is going to join us in a couple of minutes. We're going to have some fun with Ian. We'll talk a little Panthers Okie with him. We'll talk about that win last night on the program. Remember, if you want to get in, we'll get to your questions and your comments also on our YouTube chat board while you're watching. Those of you that want to reach out to us on the accidentlawfirm.com text line, you can do that too at 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105 if you want to get in on the program, and on Twitter too. And don't forget that you can also send in your fantasy basketball questions at 1 o'clock. We are going to have Andy Behrens from from Yahoo Fantasy joining us here on the show. So we'll have a little fun with Andy. And we'll get our fantasy basketball segment going. Looking forward to that. I got a little nugget that I want to share with you guys on fantasy basketball. Certain players that maybe you want to be trying to track down there. Also, before we get to Ian Margol in a couple minutes, did you guys see the Antonio Brown apology? Wow, this guy.
Another one.
Yeah, well, yesterday he
Every
went
time
on
this
Twitter.
guy, we turn around, he's apologizing.
Every time this guy yesterday went on Twitter, and he said, Mr. Kraft, I apologize. I apologize sincerely to you and your organization. All I wanted to be was an asset to the organization. Sorry for the bad media and the drama. Thank you sincerely, AB. Now, AB, dude, you gotta stay away from Twitter, man. You gotta just shut the hell up, because you're gonna be ripping the Pats today or tomorrow or next week when you don't get your opportunity. And clearly, this guy's a child. He's immature. He's partially a criminal, too, because some of the things he's done has been criminal-like. This guy's got a lot of problems. And he really needs help. That's the part about Antonio Bryant that you got to understand. And the problem is, he doesn't know that. He's probably surrounded by people that just tell him everything he does is great, and that everything he does is right, and that he's not wrong. Maybe that's what's going on with Cap. I think Cap isn't really bright. I think the people around him are the ones kind of manipulating him and telling him what to do. And then they're not football people and they don't really get it. And then he's not very bright. And then that's why it ends up like this. But Antonio Brown, it's not a matter that he's not bright. It's just a matter that he is probably ill. And he probably needs mental help. Because the things he does is what crazy people do. I'll give you an example. And I think a lot of you out there have ended up with this at one point or another. You ever gone out with that crazy girl or the crazy guy? The woman that is fanatical and crazy one moment and then trying to coddle and be sweet the next. And one moment she's giving you hell, and the next moment she's acting like it never happened. And it happens for you ladies. I'm sure you've ended up with that guy too. That is temperamental and is moody and does one thing and then says one thing, does the other, and it drives you crazy.
From having experience with 3 bipolar girlfriends, it's called rapid cycling. When they go from one extreme to the other,
right?
That's what it's called, rapid cycling.
Well, and it's disturbing when you got to deal with stuff like that, but it's sad at the same time because you know they need help. And this is all disturbing what's gone on with Antonio Bryant because it's partially criminal, sexual assault. Hell, he could have killed a kid by throwing furniture out of a 14-story condo. I mean, this is a guy that in the middle of a courtroom is acting like a complete moron with the judge. He has really no concept, and this happens to athletes too a lot because they live in this world that they are almost untouchable, and they feel like that, and then they feel like they're above the law, like Nico Toscani, and that they can get away with whatever. And then they're used to it because we have been the enablers. We've been the enablers helping these kids pass tests in high school and in college and take their exams for them and hide the DUIs and the failed drug test, and because they're helping us win games at the high school and at the college level to a certain extent. But then it gets to a point where we can't help you anymore. And that's where Antonio Brown is. Antonio Brown is at the point where no one can help him anymore. It's now up to him to help himself. And if he's not willing to help himself, then I really feel bad for anyone that is associated around him, whatever. It's not going to be a good situation because he's not going to get any better because all he has around him are enablers. And clearly that's made a huge it's made a terrible impact, let's put it that way, on his life because he doesn't have anybody to tell him what he's really supposed to do. And I don't know if he has a parent, I don't know if he has a brother, I don't know if he has a family member that he actually respects and will listen to. Doesn't seem like it. But it doesn't look like a guy that can be reached.
This is not a problem. This is not the type of thing that the agent could step in and say, hey, man, you're blowing your career. You're it isn't for me. It's for you.
It's Drew Rosenhaus, bro.
Okay, say no more.
It's Drew Rosenhaus. I mean, give me a break. All he does is, you know how many clowns that guy represents? And there's a reason why you can represent those clowns, because as an agent, it's easier for you to take advantage of them, that's for sure. 786-322-1105. If you want to get in on the accidentlawfirm.com text line, it's 786-322-1105. If you want to get in on the program, let's see. George says, nothing wrong with giving him a second chance. Shame on him for screwing this up. Antonio Brown is like Harvey Dent in Batman. Also, I have dated ladies like that. Maybe you're right. Yes, and yes, the word entitlement is always there for people like Antonio Brown. But that's our fault. It's our fault. We're the ones that hide everything for these guys when they're young, and that's why they do these things, because they can get away with it, because we allow them to get away with it. And then they think that that's the norm. It's the problem. It happens in the music industry with rock stars and all that, trashing hotels and doing all kinds of stuff that we don't find out about, and the record companies are all hiding it. Why? Because they're selling a whole bunch of records, and they're making a ton of money for the record company. So the manager will help hide whatever they can. Just watch The Dirt, and you'll see everything that they had to cover up for Motley Crue. And trust me, a lot of that stuff is still going on to this day. You'll find out about some of it, but a lot of it you won't find out about because it happens behind the scenes. If it happens in public, well, then we all know somebody has a camera on it, for sure. But when it's happening behind the scenes, a lot of us don't end up finding out till later on.
I'm sure there's actors and stuff like anything of that money, entitlement,
Yeah, exactly. Happens all the time. And that's the thing. Antonio Brown, we are part of that problem. We help create the Antonio Browns of the world. But Antonio Brown will never, ever come back from this until he wants to, until he realizes how wrong he is. If he is still blaming everybody else, which is what he still does to this day, then that means his ignorance will cost him the rest of his career. A lot like Kaepernick. Pure ignorance on his part. And the NFL has played you like a fiddle. Same way. Why? Because you're not very bright. You don't get it. You don't understand. And you don't really get what you're supposed to actually do to win this battle. Instead, you think you can, go out there and intimidate the NFL and try to get them to a point that they're going to, fold, which is ridiculous. By the way, our program is brought to you by Murias Dental. They offer same-day dentistry with the latest CEREC technology. Take advantage of your insurance benefits for 2019 before the year runs out. And, folks, they're all gone. Call Eric Murias right now, 305-821-0231. You can also visit them online at muriasdental.com. Follow them on their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages at Murias Dental. And they do the Invisalign too, which that is something that a lot of people have been doing. They are experts with Invisalign. So make sure you go check out muriasdental.com and support our great sponsors. Let's take a break. Quick break. We'll come back on the other side. Ian Margol is going to join us from WPLG. We're going to talk a little Panthers next.
America's safest and best-selling compact luxury SUV is at Acura of Pembroke Pines, and this is how we do it. RDX, $339 a month at Acura of Pembroke Pines, the #1 volume Acura dealer.
No one expects to get into a crash, but I expect you to go to accidentlawfirm.com if you do. Make sure when hiring a driver, you go through a rideshare app so that you can be covered by the insurance, which can be up to $1 million whether you're a passenger or a driver. In other words, don't try to save a few bucks by paying cash instead of going through the app. I'm attorney Bobby Nunez from Nunez Law in Miami, and we're here to help you through the process. Go to accidentlawfirm.com for a free consultation from me, Bobby Nunez. That's accidentlawfirm.com.
Thinking about buying or refinancing a home? Act now. Home values are ticking up. Don't put off making a move any longer. Call Michael Kodsey now at Choice Mortgage Bank, 561-441-2730, while mortgage interest rates are still at historical lows. Call now to get pre-approved and buy your dream home. If you're currently paying over $800 a month for rent, call 561-441-2730 now before interest rates go up. Down payments as low as 3.5%. Veterans may qualify qualify for no money down. If you own a home, but you're upside down, Michael Kodzie can help. If you're being denied by your bank or your loan process is taking too long, call 561-441-2730. Act now while fixed rates are still under 3.5%. Offices in Boca and Boynton Beach. Rates and terms subject to change daily without notice. Equal housing lender. NMLS 122081.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, let's rock and roll as promised.
This is the
Ian
Big
Margol,
O Show.
WPLG, baby. We're going to talk
How's
a
it
little
going, Big O?
Panthers. Oh, man, you know what's it's going good, Ian, because last night was one of those games where I can actually sit back and enjoy. I'm not on the edge of my freaking seat, and we're going to overtime, and we're going to shootouts and all this stuff like half the games. Yesterday was
Felt
nice.
good, didn't it?
Yeah, after that Flyers' first goal, they responded quickly, and then they dominated the game the rest of the way. I know the Flyers got active in the third period, but that always happens when you have a lead. The other team gets desperate because obviously they're behind. But overall, it was nice to have one of those games where you felt they were in complete control.
Oh, absolutely. And that first goal, look, it was a fluke. Bob's going to save that 9 times out of 10. And I mean, look, if he hadn't touched it, it probably wouldn't have even gone at the net. But that's a fluke. And they looked great from the moment the puck dropped. After that, they dominated the game. Look, the Flyers are top 3 teams in the league, I believe, in shots allowed. So we expected the Flyers to have good defense, have a lot of blocked shots, and to stop the Panthers' flurry at the end. So, look, they withstood a heck of a period from the Flyers in that third period. And look, even got a shorty to finish it off and got rid of that stress. It is nice to see this team coming together. And I think, Big O, we talked about it last time. I think we are starting to see the plan that Q has and these guys buying into it. And it's working. It's a defensive style, but it's an aggressive defensive style. And look, they're second in the league in scoring already, behind only, I believe, the Caps, and, they're a different story. They're in a different class all their own. But look, that's unbelievable. If I ever told you 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the Florida Panthers are going to be second in the league in scoring, I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, that Huberdeau line is, just phenomenal to watch, Ian. They're just putting on a show.
I mean, you're not kidding. And we were talking about how Alexander Barkov got off to a quote-unquote slow start. Well, he and Jonathan Huberdeau, if you look at the numbers and the statistics, are off to a record-setting start. Ubi is, playing his best hockey we've ever seen, and it's just, he is on fire like no one we have seen in a very long time in a Panthers uniform. And it's just every time he shoots the puck, every time Barkov shoots the puck, Dadonov has been looking great too. That line is just scary, and they match up with any other line in the entire NHL.
Yeah, Daddy had 2 assists yesterday in the game. Barkov with his 7th goal, Hubie with his 10th, Hoffman with his 9th. It's just been phenomenal right now as the Panthers, obviously a nice win yesterday, 5-2 over the Flyers. Ian, the only thing that I will nitpick on with the Panthers is I didn't like watching Huberdeau take that shot. I don't like seeing the Panthers take all the shots that they take. They take more shots and deliver less than their opponents on average. And so I'd like to see the opponent end up with a bloody mouth. I'd like to see the opponent end up on their ass. I'd like to see the opponent end up getting smashed into the boards. I don't want to see Vinny Trocheck, who just got back from an injury, then gets, slammed into the boards. And it's like, and Trocheck takes all kinds of shots. I don't know if there's a guy in the league that takes more shots than Trocheck the last couple of years. This Panther team needs to turn it up in the physical category.
Yeah, and look, if there's going to be any category that I say if we good at everything else. If that's going to have to be it, then that's okay. But I agree with you. I'd like to see the grittiness in that sense turned up a little bit. See some guys, that's a Mackenzie Weegar. He's been missing for a few games because of injury. He provides a little grit to the team in that sense. Boyle's a little bit older, but looking at him on the ice it's unbelievable how much bigger he is, height and width from everyone else. He's like a tree out there. He's an older guy, so he's not going to go get in anyone's face. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And to see Myers, the guy that cross-checked Kubi in the face last night, lift up his arms as if Kubi was selling it, trying to get a penalty, was, laughable in a sense. But the fact that he got a 4-minute penalty, so by the time the penalty was over, not only were we in a different period, but it was, everything kind of blown over. But you like to see those guys not get away with that kind of thing.
Yes.
Matheson had a target on his back for a full season after he hurt a player. I guess it was a season and a half ago now. But yeah, definitely, I would love to see the grittiness turned up a little bit.
Yeah,
but
that's the moment where I want. That's the moment where I want Paul Laws on the ice. You know what I mean? So the next time that guy comes on the ice, Laws looks for him and makes him pay for taking that shot, because this is your star too. That's the other thing.
Absolutely.
You cannot allow people to take shots at Huberdeau or Barkov or Trocheck, man. That's impossible. And somebody takes a shot. It's the untouchable line. They send yours to the hospital. You send 2 of theirs to the morgue. It's you got to do the untouchables here, bro.
I got a good story for you. I did an interview with Sean Thornton last year, and I broke my hand in the most sissy way of all time. I was playing flag football, and I crashed into my own teammate, broke my hand. So I was interviewing Sean Thornton, and I got in the cast off a couple days earlier. I was still in a brace, and he said, "What'd you do to your hand?" And I sort of told him, I showed him where the break was. He said, "Oh, so like a boxer's fracture." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I called that Thursday. You didn't see me wearing a cast." His knuckles were the size of my freaking elbow.
Oh, wow.
That's a tough man.
Yeah. No, hey, man, hockey players are tough people, dude.
Absolutely.
It's the toughest sport out there, man, because football's brutal, but these guys do it 82 times a year, and the playoffs. That is just enormous, man.
And it's the only sport where if a fight breaks out, it's not flags go flying and refs go diving on top of people. And it's literally encouraged. And well, I guess the league would not agree with me and say that, but fans are standing up, cheering, and waiting for that moment. Yeah, it's the only sport where that happens. But I agree with you. Back to your point, you don't want to see a guy like Huberdeau take a shot to the mouth like that. And Myers got off unscathed afterward. He didn't get any payback. So yeah, I would definitely like to see the grittiness come up a little bit. But look, there's a lot of that has been taken out of the game. That was a cheap shot from Myers. I don't even think he intended to do it, but it was a cheap shot. And if that's what we're going to have to miss to be second in the league in scoring and second in the Atlantic Division, which is arguably the best division in hockey right now, that's what I'll sacrifice. But yeah, I'd love to see that picked up a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Ian Margot, by the way, joining us from WPLG. What'd you think of this loser for spitting on the player?
I didn't see that. I missed it. What happened?
Oh man, I'm trying to remember his name now. That he spit on another player on the ice. Damn it, Bill, do you remember the guy's name? The guy that just spit on the other player on the ice and they just threw him out?
No, but did you see his excuse?
Yeah,
it was an accident. I mean, the size of that loogie, seriously.
Yes, there was still. Yeah, he did shoot a loogie, by the way. Yeah, you got to look.
Disgusting.
Yes, it was disgusting, and he got thrown out and all that good stuff. But I just thought that was as gross as it gets, and as
the Capitals player.
Yes, I forgot his name. Now.
That's just pathetic. His name is.
You got it there.
Garnet Hathaway.
There you go.
Here's the thing. I don't even know who that is. Never heard of his name. So
no, that's why I couldn't remember his name, because it wasn't like, it's not like I'm remembering Marty McSorley here. You know what I mean? It was one of those.
Did you see who he spit on? You'll recognize this name, Eric Goodbranson.
Yes, he did spit on Goodbranson. That's right.
That name ring a bell?
Yeah,
That's
well,
a former Panther for you.
that was the last time the Panthers were physical.
I was going to say that's the last time the Panthers had a guy that does exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah,
there.
that was the last time they had a guy that actually set that kind of a tone on the ice. And again, they need to find that guy again. Not bring back Goodbranson, but bring a guy that is like Goodbranson. And listen,
yeah, be careful. Be careful. If people on Twitter think you're saying bring back Goodbranson, you're gonna hear all sorts of stuff from either side on Twitter.
Oh no, yeah, no. The guy's been traded like 8 times, so obviously there's something going on with Goodbranson. I mean, I understand that, but all I'm saying is you need somebody with that kind of tude on the ice. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's what Michael Haley brought the team when he was with the Panthers, right? But look, that guy, he just went on to waivers as well. I think he cleared, but he just went on to waivers again from another team. So that position is, I don't want to say being eliminated from the league, but it is slowly more and more so less important to teams. But yeah, you definitely need that grit, and you need someone that's going to protect your top guys.
Yeah, well, there's actually less fighting now in hockey. So fighting is down, right?
Yeah.
It's way down.
Absolutely.
So, I mean,
Way down.
it's again, with all the head trauma and all the other stuff going on, they're getting smart about this, and you want to eliminate that because somebody one day is going to get seriously hurt, and then you're going to regret that you've allowed the fighting just so they can release some tension and some pressure and all that other stuff. And why they do that kind of thing.
Well, not only that, but it also provides a spark sometimes, right? I mean, you see guys when their team goes down 3-0 or something like that, and they'll start a fight right off a faceoff just to see if they can spark their guys and get something going. So it definitely brings something to the game.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt that there is a method behind the madness to all of it. But because of player safety nowadays, that's where I think we've taken that turn. What is the next step besides the physicality stuff that we talked about? And that may be a characteristic that does not exist. You just can't create that. You can't manufacture that if you're not really that. But what else that I know Q wants them to take it to the next level. What is the next level in your eyes, Ian?
I'd love to see them play a solid 60 minutes in all facets of the game, goaltending, defense, and the offense, for more than just one game at a time. You see, that Boston comeback was unbelievable. But we have, and this is something they were doing earlier in the season, first few games of the season, they've stopped doing. In the second period in that game, they fell asleep entirely. And Boston went out to that unbelievable lead. And then the third period was incredible, and overtime was incredible. Great. I would love to see from Bob all the way up to the forward on the first line, second line, third line, fourth line, play a game, 60-minute game, nonstop. I want to see them dominate from face-off to face-off and not have these little lapses that they have. Because, look, this is a team that is second place in the Atlantic and looks like a playoff team and looks like they can compete for a conference championship, can compete deep into the playoffs. I want to see that consistency, and I think that's what Q is talking about. And what's interesting is every single time before a game, regardless of who they're playing, Q likes to use the word dangerous when he's talking about a team that they're playing against. Whoever is coming, either going to their place or they're coming to Sunrise, Q always says this is a dangerous team. And I think it's interesting because he's not letting his team get too up for any game or too down for any game or get too low for a game either. I think you need that consistency, that consistent level of play, that consistent from the first drop of the puck to the last buzzer. And I want to see that from the Panthers. I think they can do that. That fourth line was struggling a little bit. That's why Dryden Hunt ended up down in Springfield again. But I think Toninato played really well. And I think that if you can get your first, second, third, and fourth line going solidly, you can get clean defense. Last night was a good defensive effort from the Florida Panthers. That first goal was a little bit shaky, and we've seen them be a little bit shaky here and there, but Aaron Ekblad has had a good season overall. Mike Matheson has had a good season overall. These guys are taking that step that they are expected to, and I think if you see a full 60-minute effort consistently on a game-to-game basis, they're really going to take that next step that Q is talking about.
So let me ask you, how shocked are you with the Miami Heat?
I want to say I'm more pleased than shocked, right? But they always talk about the culture there, right? And I think that Jimmy Butler is just such a Heat culture guy, and to get production out of someone like Kendrick Nunn, who would have seen this coming? To get guys going that are rookies, and to get guys going, it's been awesome. And actually, where I live in Edgewater down in Miami, and I overlook, I can see the AAA, and to see the people streaming out of there is just awesome. It's really been exciting to see what they're doing.
Yeah, I listen. I thought, and you're right. It's kind of like a pleasantly surprised type of deal with them, because obviously it's awesome to watch. And I thought maybe, Ian, they were a 7 or 8 seed. That's what I thought. With Jimmy Butler, I figured you got an all-star. Okay, you'll get in the playoffs in the East, 7, 8 seed. They're playing like they're going to be a top 5 seed the way they're playing right now, because of all these young guys that we just did not see them. I didn't want to put pressure and expectations on Tyler Hero. Little did I know that Kendrick Nunn and Silva and Robinson are going to be also big-time contributors. That's the that's the shocker.
Silva's on a 2-way contract, right?
Yes.
Silva can only play 45 games up with the Heat, I believe, right?
Yeah, but the way Anthony Chang explained it to me is that in January they can start giving him a 10-day contract and then sign him to a deal after that. So what they'll do is they'll probably use up the 45 games up until January and then sign him to a 10-day contract and then get him under contract. He doesn't practice. You know that? He doesn't practice.
No, I didn't know that.
He only plays because if he practices, it's considered a day. So out of those 45, they want to make sure those 45 are games and not practices. So that's how valuable the kid has turned, that they are willing to let him forego practice with the team, and he can just practice on his own. How crazy
Can we talk
is
about
that?
how Eric Spoelstra is an unbelievably – it's incredible to me that he still may be underrated as a coach.
Yes. Yeah. Well, maybe. Wait a minute.
There's no argument anymore.
Ian, is it really that he's underrated, or is it that people are still in just some crazy-ass denial that he's really good and they just don't feel like giving him the credit that he deserves?
Is that what happens when you have the first, maybe not the first if you think about the Celtics, but the big three, and is that sort of is that because of that? Is that the only reason he gets no love? I don't know.
But it's weird. But wait a minute.
Unbelievable.
But Ian, he went to the playoffs 2 years straight before the big three. Then he won the championships with the big three. He still got he was a win away from getting to the Eastern Conference with Wade post big three. He a bunch of scrubberinis. He made him go 31-10 in the second half. He's developing all of these young players now in this team. I mean, I don't know how many more examples you need that he shows you he's an incredible coach and adjusts. He's had different offenses in the same season, 3 and 4 different offenses because of blood clots and injuries and trades and everything else. This guy has proven over and over and over again that he can coach his ass off. I don't get it.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anything not to get. Spo is a top 3 to 5 coach in the NBA, and there's no question in my mind. He has gotten the most out of every single team that he has had in the last, since he started with the Miami Heat. And I have friends that are in the basketball world, and I've seen, I know guys that are young that are, trying to get jobs in film rooms. And to know that Spo came from that, worked his way through an organization and is doing what he's doing now is just something so cool to see. And to talk about Heat culture, man, he is that, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, no, there's no, he is the epitome of it, man. I mean, whether it's him, remember Andy Ellisberg started like in the ticket office. and he's your guy now running the cap, and UD comes from, you know, the whatever it was, the French league, and he weighed like 100 extra pounds, and he lost 100 pounds, and that this is the story of this franchise. They allow people to grow and be the best that they can possibly be, but it's up to them, and that's the amazing part about that franchise, that we've watched a lot of people grow from, you know, the bottom, and they're there still at that point. They're an incredibly loyal and dedicated franchise to their employees.
I have a question for you, Big Al.
Yes, sir.
Switching topics here. Do you think the Canes can finish out and win their next two and finish on a high note, get to a bowl game, win that, and go 9-4?
Yes. I do believe they can do that. They can win the last two games left on their schedule. Yeah, definitely. The way they're playing now, remember, they're not making any mistakes now with the penalties. Jaron Williams is playing out of his mind. They've had a solid running game. The offensive line is way better than it was at the beginning of the year. These young guys have developed. The defense is making plays. Hells to the they can actually win the last two games. Now, it could also be, you know, it could go awry a little bit on them too, but I like their chances in finishing strong, Ian. I really do.
I love it. I think Jaron Williams I think there's no question, and there was never any question in my mind through this entire season, that Jaron Williams may be the best quarterback that we have seen at the University of Miami since Ken Dorsey. I love Brad Kaya. I was a huge Brad Kaya fan. Malik Rozier did not get the credit he deserved, but Jaron Williams, I mean, he is a dude. That guy can make every single throw on the field. Now that he's trusting his offensive line, and he couldn't trust his offensive line in the first few games, but now that he can trust his offensive line, he can step up in the pocket. That man can sling the ball 50-plus yards, or he hits those slants and those dig routes cleaner and faster than quarterbacks we have seen here in a very long time. That is something that Canes fans should be so excited about, in my opinion. And to see guys like Mike Harley and D. Wiggins stepping up and scoring 2 touchdowns apiece last week against a decent Louisville team, I mean, that is just exciting for me and exciting for Canes fans. I agree with you. I think they finish out. Look, I think FIU is FIU, and, you know, gotta love Butch and gotta love what he's doing over there. But I think that they're still working on their rebuild. But going to Duke is going to be tougher than I think people think. But I think the Canes finish out and get a good bowl game, and I hope that this is a big momentum push for them, especially with early signing coming up in December.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. They actually, with early signing, with the recruiting and all that, they need to finish strong, win these last two against FIU and Duke, and then maybe win your bowl game. And that would kind of erase everything. And look, with the whole thing that you talked about, Jaron, Manny mishandled it. He should not have given up on the kid in that one bad quarter. He was playing very good football overall. He has that one bad quarter, and Manny kind of flips, and he should have stuck with the kid from the get-go. He should have. I say he should have brought Nkosi in for one series. He should have turned to Jaron and say, "Look, Jaron, you've just thrown 3 interceptions in this quarter. I'm going to put Nkosi in for a series. I want you to check yourself, talk to your coach, relax here. Take it a minute. You're going to be back in the next offensive series. Be ready, but I want you to be prepared." And that's what I think he should have done. The fact that he just casted him aside and put him on the bench and then brought him out when he needed him because he was desperate, I thought that was bad on Manny's part. But this is what you get when you get a young head coach. They're learning just like any of us would be learning in a new job. It's the same thing.
Absolutely.
That's all it is.
Absolutely. And I think Nkosi Perry is a phenomenal backup in the ACC. By far, I would say he's probably the best backup in the ACC. And he is matured tenfold this season, and he looks 100 times better than he did last season. But Jaron Williams just has some intangibles and has some pieces to him as a quarterback that I think this Canes team needs. And I agree with you. I think that, look, you go and you throw 3 interceptions. I don't think he's thrown an interception in any other game. Has he had some throws that could have been picked off? Sure, but I don't think he's actually thrown an interception in any other game, has he?
No.
Yeah, he's got 3 interceptions on the year, and they were all in one quarter. Manny says he was hurt. He had a hurt shoulder. Let's give Manny the benefit of the doubt. Maybe that's true. Then why are you playing the kid if he's in that much pain that he can't throw like he normally does, like we know he can? But that being said, he's a redshirt freshman. We knew he was going to have a game like that. I agree with you. I think it was mishandled, but I'm glad to see, look, he showed some real mental toughness coming in that Pitt game when he was needed, delivering a drive that he needed to do. KJ Osborne made a couple great catches, got into the end zone, and they won that game. And that has turned their season around entirely.
Yep.
And that mental toughness is something that you need in a quarterback. And I think that Jaron has it in spades. And I think that we've got something special at the University of Miami right now.
No doubt. Ian Margot, follow him there at WPLG, doing his thing at Ian Margot, WPLG on Twitter. And Ian, as always, my brother, thank you for taking some time talking a little sports, my man. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Have a great one, Big O.
You got it, baby. Be good. There you go. Ian Margot, man. Good stuff there. We went all over with
I was
him.
going to say, you went all around the South Florida spectrum.
Yeah, man. It's good to talk a little Heat and a little Canes with Ian. He follows it all. It's a good thing, man. It's fun. I like it.
No, that was a great segment, man.
That was an excellent segment by Ian. Good stuff. Good insight on his part. Agree with him a lot on a lot of things that he was saying there. And that was and listen, to have that win last night, that was fun. That was fun. I needed that one. I didn't want an overtime shootout type game. Plus, I don't want to give away a damn point. We want all the damn points. So, good.
And like we said, that is a playoff team right in our realm, right in our area.
Yes.
You got to smack them down and let them know we're better than you.
Yeah, but the next time, make sure you take a shot at the guy and knock his ass out too. Because that's the one thing I don't want to see my Panthers. I don't want to see my Panthers getting their ass kicked by anybody. I want the Panthers to do the ass kicking, okay? That's what needs to happen.
Oh, well, like you said, the league's noticing this, and they're going to start going after Barkov, going after Hoobie, going after Tro, and even your goalie, okay? Let's face it.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. You see what they got on Thursday, by the way?
What's that?
The Capitals.
Yes. Yeah. Well, no. We got Anaheim. God, I had it like it's Anaheim, somebody, this, that, and I think the Capitals are our fourth game.
The Capitals are on Thursday.
Is it?
Yeah, 21st. The Capitals are on Thursday at the BB&T Center. 7 o'clock face-off. I'm looking at it here. So, looking forward to that. The 11-5-5 Panthers going up against the 16-3-4 Capitals. Holy crap.
Okay, wait.
That sucks, dude. But what are you going to do? But, hey, listen, maybe you can win this game. That would be really nice.
In the standings, I think they have 36, 35. I mean, and the next, there's two guys, obviously, in front of us in our division, and the other one, 31 points, and then us tied for fourth. 27. Yeah,
fourth. We're fourth in the conference. Yeah, they've got, Anaheim on Thursday is what they have.
That's what I said. Anaheim somebody, Thursday. There's Capitals are 4 games from.
Yeah, Anaheim, Carolina, Buffalo, then Washington.
Thank you.
Right. You are correct.
I remember seeing it on the schedule when they flashed it up on the TV last night, and I'm sitting there and I was like, okay, it's a blah blah like that, and trying to like put a little thing together with the 4 letters.
Yep, Buffalo and then Washington. So that'll be
the next 3 games, if I'm not mistaken, they are home games.
Yes.
And then
no, Anaheim's home, Carolina's on the road, Buffalo's home, Washington's on the road, Nashville, Minnesota, Columbus, San Jose, Tampa, Islanders, Boston, Ottawa, Dallas, all home.
Wow.
Yeah, they go a home.
How many games did you just go through? Like 6?
Well, they go Anaheim home, Carolina road, Buffalo home, Washington road, and then they go on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9-game home stand.
And where does that put us through? January what?
The last home game, let's see, is
9 games, 3 days.
December 20th.
Oh, okay. So
Dallas.
that's a month.
Dallas, yes.
Basically, from today, exactly.
Yeah. Well, remember, the beginning of the schedule was brutal.
We were on the road.
Yeah, they had the West Coast swing. They've had a whole bunch of road games. They've had a brutal actual start to their season because they went to Tampa, and then they played Tampa and Carolina, and then they go to Buffalo, the Islanders, and the Devils. Then they come back home to Colorado. Then they go to Nashville. They come home to Tampa. Then they went to Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, and Colorado to then come back to Detroit and Washington to then go to the Islanders, the Rangers, and Boston. So it's just like
besides the record of the teams, most of them have been on the road.
Right. There have been a lot of road games. So now it's kind of evening out.
Reap our benefits right now.
Now they have an opportunity to actually kind of settle up and play a lot of stuff here at home and capitalize on it. Hopefully they will capitalize on it.
So with that thought in mind and us being, like we've said, 25% through, should we not figure getting a little closer to those capital guys and maybe doing a 2-3 and fighting?
It all depends on what pace they continue at and do they suffer some setbacks during this stretch so we can catch up?
I don't want to talk about that word where you don't have guys playing because when you say it happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's health.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. If you want to get in on the program, 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105 if you want to get in on the program as we take you, of course, till about 2:30, 2:40, somewhere around that area. Do want to tell you about EJD Construction. Go see Eric and John. And, folks, if you're looking to redo that man cave, the kitchen, the front yard, the backyard, the patio, whatever it is that you want to do, anything creative. I'm not talking about a handyman. I'm talking about custom home construction, major home remodeling. Please call EJD Construction, 305-318-4978, fully insured. They didn't just pick up a couple dudes at Home Depot and show up at your house. 305-318-4978 for EJD Construction.
Plus tax, tech title. It includes $8.99 dealer fee on approved credit. Offers end 11/10/19.
Over 1,500 Toyotas are on the ground, and truckloads of new 2020 Toyotas just keep on coming. To eliminate all 2019 models, Toyota of Hollywood is holding the ultimate 2019 model year changeover event. Make us an offer, any offer, and you can buy a Toyota at up to 50% less than their original MSRP when new and used. 50% less. A pre-owned 2019 RAV4, not $30,000, $19,775. A pre-owned 2019 Camry LE, not $26,000, $17,775. A pre-owned 2019 Corolla LE, not $22,000, $12,775. Pay up to 50% less at Toyota of Hollywood, the #1 volume Toyota dealer, based on total retail sales of new Toyotas in the Southeast region for 2014 to 2018 per SCT, on 441 between Hollywood Boulevard and Sheridan Street. Open till midnight.
No one expects to get into a crash, but I expect you to go to accidentlawfirm.com if you do. Make sure when hiring a driver, you go through a rideshare app so that you can be covered by the insurance, which can be up to $1 million whether you're a passenger or a driver. In other words, don't try to save a few bucks by paying cash instead of going through the app. I'm attorney Bobby Nunez from Nunez Law in Miami, and we're here to help you through the process. Go to accidentlawfirm.com for a free consultation from me, Bobby Nunez. That's accidentlawfirm.com.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
We are back. Bum, bum, ba-da-da-da. Welcome back. At the top of the hour, Andy Behrens is going to join us for a little Yahoo Fantasy Basketball. All right, so if you got any fantasy basketball questions, send them in right now. Put them in on the YouTube chat board. Send them in on Twitter at Big O Show. DM on Twitter, because sometimes a lot of you like to DM, I guess, which I don't mind. That's fine with me. I'll look for them in the DMs too. And, of course, on the accidentlawfirm.com text line at 786-322-1105. That's 322-1105 if you want to get in on the accidentlawfirm.com text line, whether it's a fantasy basketball question or, of course, if you want to send in any comments or anything else going on. Let me see what we got on the YouTube chat board here. We got anything going on that's interessante here? What do we got? No, just little comments, not any questions that are important. Anyway, we got some other things that I definitely want to talk about here on the program. Let's see, what do I wanted to get into before we go to the top of the hour? Basketball-wise, did you guys see LeBron James yesterday? He ended up with a triple-double, right? And yesterday he had a triple-double as they defeated the Thunder 112-107. LeBron James became the first player ever to have a triple-double against every team in the NBA.
I had no idea. No, Coach Vogel came in here and said, congratulations. And I was like, oh, well, I thought he was joking about my 7 turnovers because I've been taking care of the ball so much. And he said, first player in NBA history to have a triple-double versus 30 teams or every team. And I was like, okay. Well, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. That's a pretty cool stat. Now, he won't own that record by himself for very long because Russell Westbrook is actually one team away from accomplishing the same thing. Guess what team that is? He has to do it against Oklahoma City. He's done it against the other 29 teams.
That makes sense because he hasn't had a chance to go up against himself.
Right, so he'll go against his former team soon, and he'll have a chance, if he gets a triple-double, to join LeBron as the only 2 players to accomplish a triple-double against every team in the NBA. That's one you have to get traded too, because if you end up on one team your whole career, you could have a triple-double against all the teams except one, your own. But now
tonight I'd like to go to the visitors' locker room just to get that, Coach. Would you let me play for the other team, please?
That's it. How about that, dude? 86 triple-doubles yesterday was his 86th triple-double in his career. There was a lot of things going on in that game yesterday, okay? The Laker girls weren't just the Laker girls out there, okay? They had James Corbin dancing. They had Venus Williams dancing with the ladies. And Gronkowski was out there doing the moves. I thought that was funny as hell, man. That was great. And that dude just knows how to have fun. That's all. It's just he's just a lovable meathead. That's what he is. Yeah, he's a meathead, but he's a lovable type of meathead because he's really not trying to hurt anybody. He's just always trying to have fun. He looks like a good guy. Looks like a guy you want to hang out and have a beer with and talk. Not that you're going to get into any philosophical things in the world, but you'll just BS and have some fun. But watch it. And he had the moves going, man. Did a nice job. Venus looked good, too, doing her thing. That was actually cool. And thinking about the Westbrook thing, that's a nice little stat for him and LeBron. That if they do, I'm sure Westbrook will get that triple-double. I'm sure they'll make sure they make it happen on his team. So he gets the opportunity. I'm sure Harden will make it easy for him to try to accomplish that and get that stat. But that's a pretty cool stat. You end up with a triple-double against every team in the NBA. The other thing that went on yesterday was Carmelo Anthony's return to the NBA. And he started, which that tells me that if you're Portland, what are you doing? Where's your logic? You traded for Whiteside in the offseason. You didn't see what was going on with Whiteside in the Heat. What would make you think that was going to be the answer? And the way they were using Whiteside is kind of a stopgap until they get their center in a way. And I get that, but it's still the wrong person to add to your team because he's really not going to make you better because he doesn't understand the game the way it's supposed to be played. He's just trying to get stats because that's how he thinks. Obviously, starting off at 4-14 now, you go and sign, or no, 4-10 or 5-10 now. You go and sign Carmelo Anthony, a guy that's inefficient, a guy that doesn't shoot well. What he used to do great, he's no longer great at. And if you watched any of the game yesterday, it was a joke, just the defense, because there is no defense. People are just running past him. Let me give you some numbers. On a guy that was off the floor for 376 days, the 24 minutes he was on the court with the Blazers, they were -20. He had a plus-minus 20. He was -20 on the court. On the 24 minutes he was off the court, they were +9. And please don't tell me, well, let's give him some time, let him get in shape. When did you ever see Melo help you out on defense? That's not going to change. His first shot was a 3 and he made it. He ends up 4 of 14 shooting. 4 of 14. That is not productive. That's not efficient. 10 points, 5 turnovers, and 5 fouls. And he was a -20 while he was on the court. How in the world do you walk back into your locker room as the head coach, the general manager, and even the owner, which I would imagine you have a brain, which the last time I checked, the guy that owns the Portland Trail Blazers, he's got a brain that's bigger than my house. He should be smart enough, Paul Allen, by the way, to be able to figure out that this is not a good acquisition. I don't get that one, okay? This is the guy that brings nothing to the table, and you lost to the Pelicans, who are a nice team. They got a couple of nice young players, but they don't even have their best young player on the court, and yet you lose to a 5-9 Pelicans team, and you're supposed to be a Western Conference playoff contender. I don't expect Portland to be a conference winner or an NBA Finals, but I expect them to be somewhere in the 5 to 8 seed. And you're all the way in the bottom of the conference right now. How in the world do you think that having Carmelo Anthony and Hassan Whiteside on your team will make you a better team, a more efficient team, is baffling.
You know, it's a stat I was thinking about. He misses 10 shots out of 14. And I don't think you got many offensive rebounds off those 10 misses.
Yeah.
He doesn't play defense. And then when you have the ball, he gives it back to them. What is this guy doing but undermining your team?
Right. I don't get it. And this whole love affair with him, with the NBA people, and I'm so glad that Melo's back and this and that. Why? Oh, I felt bad for him being. Why? I don't feel bad for him. He never tried to become a better player. The good Lord blessed him with a whole ton of talent, and all he wanted to do was shoot. Never became better defensively, never became better offensive player, as in setting your team up. Not a team player. Just a stat hog. I have no sympathy for Melo. Every time he had an opportunity to go to a better team to try to win, all he wanted was his money. That's all he ever wanted, was to get paid. He didn't care about winning. So all of a sudden he's going to care about winning now? He's never cared about winning because he doesn't know. Whatever he accomplished in college, That's great. And he can live on that for the rest of his life, and it's a great accomplishment what he did at Syracuse, carrying that young team, and you can do that in college. I saw Danny Manning do the same thing. I get it. You can do that, and it's a great accomplishment. But in the NBA, I'm sorry, dude. I don't really have a lot of respect for your game just because you can shoot. That's it. And now you can't shoot anymore like you used to shoot. So if you can't shoot the way you used to shoot, you, in my eyes, are useless.
Syracuse 1 year, high and by, and did win the one championship for
that's great.
Boeheim. Did win the one championship for Boeheim. Selfish, self-serving always, cheats on his wife constantly. Not a good guy.
Yeah.
How he did Denver and stuff, situation. The only thing he's probably done that's redeeming in any kind of capacity is maybe playing for the Olympic team, I think, 4 times.
Yeah,
but
you're
exactly.
With 400 other
exactly.
stars. I don't care about that.
But that's the only positive per se.
Yeah.
You could say Carmelo, other than the Syracuse 1 year.
I'm not impressed anything that does the Olympic team. You're supposed to do it, dude. You're 1,000 times better than everybody else. Win, please. Give me a break. All right, time for a little fantasy basketball. Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy. You got a fantasy basketball team? You got fantasy problems? Send them in on our Yahoo chat board. Send them in on Twitter DM, which seems to be the more popular one. Also on the Twitter timeline if you want, or on the accidentlawfirm.com text line, 786-322-1105. Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy, next.
No one expects to get into a crash, but I expect you to go to accidentlawfirm.com if you do. Make sure when hiring a driver, you go through a rideshare app so that you can be covered by the insurance, which can be up to $1 million whether you're a passenger or a driver. In other words, don't try to save a few bucks by paying cash instead of going through the app. I'm attorney Bobby Nunez from Nunez Law in Miami, and we're here to help you through the process. Go to accidentlawfirm.com for a free consultation from me, Bobby Nunez. That's accidentlawfirm.com.
Thinking about buying or refinancing a home? Act now. Home values are ticking up. Don't put off making a move any longer. Call Michael Kodzie now at Choice Mortgage Bank, 561-441-2730, while mortgage interest rates are still at historical lows. Call now to get pre-approved and buy your dream home. If you're currently paying over $800 a month for rent, call 561-441-2730 now before interest rates go up. Down payments as low as 3.5%. Veterans may qualify for no money down. If you own a home, but you're upside down, Michael Kodzie can help. If you're being denied by your bank or your loan process is taking too long, call 561-441-2730. Act now while fixed rates are still under 3.5%. Offices in Boca and Boynton Beach. Rates and terms subject to change daily without notice. Equal housing lender. NMLS 122081.
America's safest and best-selling compact luxury SUV is at Acura of Pembroke Pines, and this is how we do it. RDX, $339 a month at Acura of Pembroke Pines, the #1 volume Acura dealer.
This is the Big O Show. 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 This is the Big O Show.
Let's rock and roll. Hour number 3 already on the program. This is crazy. Time flies when you're having fun here on the show. We have fun every single day. And once again, I can't say enough about the support every day and the downloads, and we thank you for it. We appreciate it immensely. If you have any fantasy basketball questions, send them in right now, either on our YouTube chat board there if you're watching on YouTube, and of course on the accidentlawfirm.com text line at 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105 if you want to get in on the program and send in your fantasy basketball questions. Also on Twitter at Big O Show, or DM is the other way you can do it. You can follow my man Andy Behrens on Twitter at Andy Behrens. You can catch his exceptional work at Yahoo Fantasy.
We have Mr. Behrens, sir.
Thank you, sir. Let's bring him aboard. Andy, how are you doing, my brother?
I'm good. I'm gearing up for Pistons Bulls tonight. I'll be out there for that. Pretty excited. Watching my hometown mess of a team. So that'll be good.
Pistons Bulls. Where are you at right now? You're in Chicago, right?
I'm in Chicago.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Pistons Bulls.
I'm just hoping I get a little Derrick Rose. We get a little MVP chance in there. That'd be cool. There's not a whole lot to see on the Bulls side. Oh, Daniel Gafford's been good, but that's about it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Did you have Doncic or do you have LeBron? Because wow, man. And I thought that was really cool, that stat that LeBron now has a triple-double against every team in the NBA. Westbrook is one team away, which is OKC. When he gets that, he'll join LeBron. But that's a really cool stat that you've got a triple-double against every team.
It is a very cool stat. This has been hopefully we don't get the mid-season LeBron sabbatical this year, right? We just get like a solid 75 to 80 games, because it's obviously being in a more competitive environment, not being mired in a team that had no hope of making the playoffs as he was last year, has just reinvigorated him. I mean, it's cool to see. He's a force of a player. I don't know, certainly top 2 all time, top 2, top 3 all time. And to see him now play with an apparent chip on his shoulder. I don't know if you saw the fan video from the other night where LeBron is yapping at an official about how he knows there's been a lot of press out there about how he's not playing any defense, but this is a new year. And, you know, he just has such an edge to him. And he's just, man, to see him in a winning environment again is really great. And you hope that fans don't take it for granted, right? Because it's not going to be around forever. He's not going to, LeBron isn't going to be great at like 45 or whatever. I mean, it's amazing that we've had this much of him, but this is really, really fun.
All right, is there any truth that any fantasy basketball player that grabbed Melo the last couple of days is probably a guy making a donation to his league?
Oh, I'm glad we're talking about this, because for days, one of the first things I look at each morning in both football and basketball leagues is I just look at there's a little transaction trends tab in your Yahoo leagues that will just show you who the most added players are and who the most dropped players are, right? Like, you just want to know who the buzzy players are. And for days, Carmelo Anthony was the number 1 ad in fantasy basketball leagues. So tens of thousands of people have picked him up lately. And to some extent, I get it. You're a fan. Maybe you're in a league with 6 bench spots, something like that, and you just always loved Carmelo. Obviously, I'm going to say some negative things about him, and I do want to first throw out there that I think he's an inner circle Hall of Famer. I think prime Melo, 2006 to 2010-ish Melo, was just phenomenal. It was just a joy to watch. His run to the Western Conference Finals was really cool. That was what a career. I think a 6-time All-NBA player, just an incredible career, collegiately, internationally, in the NBA. Love him. This is not a good version of Melo. And I know he was rusty last night. He's just back to NBA action, but he was a minus 20 in 24 minutes. He committed 5 fouls, had 5 turnovers. The shot is clearly still there. It was, it's fun to watch Carmelo knock down elbow jumpers. That was cool. but I don't see who we can defend, and I don't see how we can defend against like good teams that can throw 5 offensive threats on the floor are just gonna negate him. Like he can't. How can he play? How can he play against those teams? Because even last night against a relatively poor team, it was still the earlier version of Melo that we saw, who's just kind of pointing on defense and can't move his feet very well. And on offense, if he spots up in the corner, he's definitely going to be the last guy down the floor. Like he's not at NBA speed. He wasn't at NBA speed the last time we saw him. And I just worry, like in an environment like Portland, like Portland made the Western Conference Finals last year. They are a team that has serious expectations, but they're like 5-10 right now. They're at the bottom of the Western Conference. They got to win. They got to win games, and they don't have a month to figure this out. And it sounds like Melo's been promised a starting role. He's been promised all the things he wants, and I just don't know that he can survive in a winning environment as a guy who gets even 15 minutes a game. Like it would have been nice in a way to see him just go out and like ride off into the sunset for a bad team where it didn't matter if he just was a -20 every night and he could get 14 shots up and hey, let's go out and watch Melo score and give up as many points as he gets himself. Like I don't know, maybe that would have been fine, but I worry that this is going to go really, really bad, especially if he insists on starting.
I got to tell you something, Andy. Paul Allen should be drug testing his front office because these are the guys that traded for Whiteside and are now signing Melo. I mean, talk about terrible panic moves. And 2 guys that aren't team players. They don't play the defense that you really need. And they're both stat hogs, actually. They don't really do the things that you need to be an efficient player in the NBA. And that's a problem. And to me, when you're that desperate and you add those guys, and now you're, what was it after the loss last night? They are 5-10. They're
5-10.
This is why you're 5-10. They can't
like kill a lot of time figuring it out. Like the West is a buzzsaw. Like you can't just give away games right now, especially when you're already 5 below 500. Like they got to win, and I just don't know that Carmelo can contribute to that at all.
No, I'm with you all the way there. P.J. Washington struggles in Charlotte. Are you concerned? Is it typical young guy? What should people do with P.J.?
Yeah, not a huge worry. Of course, he's a guy who got off to that incredible start against my Bulls. Yeah, and that was out of nowhere too. Like he'd gotten some buzz, but I don't think anybody expected anything like that right out of the gate. So it could actually be a case where expectations were just set at such a ridiculous place too early. There's a lot of different guys on that team who are kind of going to take turns. I guess if you want to look at a troubling thing with Washington, it's that in 2 of the last 3 games, he's actually played less than 20 minutes. So if the minutes are going to start to be up and down, that's a bigger concern. Otherwise, in a standard night, you would expect double-digit points from him. He's kind of frisky as a defensive player. You'd expect a steal or 2. So I mean, I liked what I've seen so far, but obviously with any player that young, it's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster. He's only 21 years old. The upside is apparent. He was just a monster early in the season. But if the minutes start to go away, like if he settles into a place where he's playing 18 to 22 a game, then guys like that get droppable because they don't have any trade value anymore.
Last year he was developing, and you were seeing that he was getting to become a better player. This year he is now starting and getting to play really well now the last couple of games. Are you a Richaun Holmes believer with the Kings, and should you be adding him if he's available on your free agency list?
Oh, shoot, yeah. I mean, the time to add that guy was probably a couple weeks ago. He was, I want to say in the Yahoo Friends and Family League, he might have been my first ad of the season. I think I launched Michael Porter Jr. for him, and haven't regretted it. I mean, yesterday I think it was 20 and 15, but he's been pretty close to a double-double basically every night. No Bagley to worry about right now. And Holmes is a guy who's just so active. He just kind of moves at a different speed from almost anybody else out there, right? Like, really fun to watch. A crazy second round draft pick success story. Been really, really good. There's no question that if he's out there on a waiver wire, he pretty much needs to be owned in any competitive fantasy league. Really, almost in any league of any size. Yeah, no, I'm with you. How about what is it, Belica or whatever, Jellica or whatever the kid's name? Bielika, whatever. I know once Bagley gets back, that's going to be an issue. But man, he is playing really well right now. What do you tell people that are using him in streamer leagues right now? That you're just going to continue to get double-digit points, and you're going to get a couple threes a game. He's a fearless shooter, really. I mean, he's kind of settled into like 30 minutes a game lately. Fun player. He is a guy who, when he was in Minnesota, we always wanted to see more of him because he was like a per-minute monster, right? Like you'd look at what his numbers would extrapolate to over 36 minutes, and it was always terrific. And anytime he got serious time on the floor, he was really fun. So you're seeing that now. I mean, it feels like he's basically been like 16 or 17 a night with 8 to 12 boards, and he's jacking threes, so he's hitting a couple threes a game. I think this is pretty steady. I think it's going to go on for a while, and that team is playing. I'm going to say they've got 3 games coming up, maybe in the next 4 days. So you're definitely not kicking into the curb anytime soon. Like I think he is what he's been over the last week or so. Danuel House Jr. Are you a believer? Is he a guy people should grab in Houston because he's starting and filling up the stat line? Yeah, he's got a little runway now because Eric Gordon has got a knee issue again, which has obviously been a thing that has troubled him his entire career. And we know, like, his skill set just perfectly fits what the Rockets want to be. If you all you got to do, stand around and wait for Westbrook or Harden to get you the ball, and you can hoist as many threes as you want to. So sure, he's one of those guys who's just going to kill it in a couple categories, but in those couple categories, it's going to be really fun. Yeah, and Gordon, by the way, will be, I think, better suited to come off the bench anyway. Right? Yeah, really, really rough start to the season for Gordon, obviously, and now he's got an injury issue. So yeah, that's easy to see. It's pretty easy to imagine him as a guy who could fill it up a little bit against second units instead of being trapped with the first unit. Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy. We're going to do fantasy basketball every Wednesday at 1:00 here on the show. So make sure you tune in every Wednesday, and of course we'll podcast it like we do the whole show. And if you missed it, you can then catch up on it. Nico Alexander-Walker was fantastic in the preseason, then started off really slow, had a couple of good games a couple days ago. In fact, one of them was against the Heat. He was fantastic. Stunk it up in his last game. Where are we with Nico? Is he a guy you ride? Is he a guy you leave on the waiver wire? How do you look at him? Well, I have left him on the waiver wire. I mean, he's either like 2 points or he's 20 points. Like that's what it's been for the last couple of weeks. And that's just going to be a team. It's a fun team. The Pelicans are just fun generally. They're going to play very fast. They got a lot of interesting pieces. It's not going to be the same guy every night, but the threat with Alexander Walker is the sort of game you just saw last night, right? Like 15 minutes, barely made an appearance in the box score. Really, I think it was 3 points, maybe a couple boards in there, but that's about it. And almost everybody in New Orleans roster down to it's been. I was very close to dropping JJ Redick a week ago because he was coming off games in which he didn't even see 20 minutes. No trade value there. So minutes have been kind of up and down all season for that team. I think it's really going to be difficult to trust anybody except the people who are really at the top of the food chain for the Pelicans. Zion when he gets back, and then obviously Brandon Ingram is an every night guy, as is Holiday. Everybody else is just trying to fit in around him. I know he got poked in the eye yesterday. How do you look at Kuzma? What do you tell people who own Kuzma? Because it seems like when AD was out,
he was all right. And then when AD's back, it might hurt him some nights, and some nights it may not. Some nights it may complement him. I thought it was going to be a compliment for Kuzma all year long, having LeBron and AD, because they're such good passers. But unfortunately, they're not on the court at the same time when AD's out there. So how do you look at the Kuzma situation? How much value has he lost since last year?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't really have any shares of Kuzma, because he's fundamentally he's just a guy that you add for points. Just a guy who can give you 15 to 20 any given night. He's going to get some threes up. And that's about it, statistically speaking. There's not a ton of defensive goodies there, especially for somebody who's going to play most nights. It'd be like 25 minutes. So he's not a super exciting player already. And then I think with Kuzma, you have the specter of a trade, because the Lakers literally have nothing to trade except that one guy. They don't, the draft picks are gone, the young pieces are gone. They've got some salaries that are movable, but Kuzma's the one asset that they could flip for something serious that you could convince a team. A team could convince itself that they really needed. Kyle Kuzma. I don't think he's a particularly interesting fantasy asset, but I do think he's somebody who can settle into 14, 15 points a game for you and very little else. But he could get really interesting if he's moved.
Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy. Follow him on Twitter at Andy Behrens. All right, Andy, give me a sleeper you like, a sleeper ad for somebody out there this week.
Actually, the guy I mentioned at the very top, I think Daniel Gafford could get really interesting for the Bulls. I think he's going to block a lot of shots. If this guy settles in to 20 to 25 minutes a game, the one thing we saw from Gafford in Summer League, the ball's not coming out once it comes in, right? He's going to try to dunk that thing. He's going to shoot a really good percentage. He might not get an assist. He might go weeks without an assist. But he'll have a bunch of nights where he's 6 for 8 with 4 dunks, 3 blocks, and 8 rebounds. I think he's going to be really fun. I think he's going to be a thing. I can't believe it took him this long to get a minute. But now that he's going to get playing time, especially on this team, I think he's going to settle into about 25 minutes a game. I think it's going to be really fun.
But the Luke Kornet kid, whenever he does come back, is that not going to cause any problems for him?
Yeah, he can just go away. He's been a really rough watch early in the season. I think Gafford can play well enough that we don't have to worry about Kornet going forward.
Okay, interesting. All right, let me give you a guy that I think is getting on the radar, and maybe you not right to grab at the moment, but maybe look at what's going on. Nasir Little from Portland. Have you seen him?
Saw him last night. Yeah, we got a little bit of him last night.
12 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks, a steal, and an assist in 24 minutes. He's got back-to-back performances that are pretty good. I picked him up actually myself, and I actually let go of the guard from Portland for him, Anthony Simons.
Yeah,
I like it because Simons is more of a shooter. He doesn't really help you out in all the categories. And I looked at this kid, and I watched the game last night because obviously I want to see what all the buzz with Melo, and obviously I keep laughing at Whiteside. So it's just one of those things I wanted to check it out, and I see this Nasir Little kid play, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, is this a guy that should be on people's radars?
Super active, has all the traits that Melo doesn't, right? And it's funny that the guy that really popped for you and was like, oh, I need to add that guy. That's the guy I believe who got sent to the bench so that Carmelo could start, right? I don't know what this is going to look like. I mean, Little didn't really take much of a hit in terms of minutes. I think he was still over 20 minutes, which is fine. But again, 12 and 11. Just plays with a different energy and at a different pace than Melo is going to play. So I think if he settles in as somebody who's still playing 20, 25 minutes a game, he can be really interesting. But he should get a lot of these Carmelo Anthony minutes if Carmelo can't, Well, I don't know. I root for Carmelo, and I hope that over time and very soon he's better than he was last night, but he can't go on like that for much longer.
No, and that's why I'm saying drug test everybody in that organization, because I just I just don't get it, dude. Whiteside and then Melo. I mean, I gotta be. My team is going to crap if I'm a Portland's fan. The way I'm seeing that whole thing develop. All right, what are you guys doing at Yahoo Fantasy on the basketball end, so folks can check you out, my friend?
Yeah, Dalton Delon and I are recording the Yahoo Fantasy Basketball podcast every Thursday. We get it up just after noon on Thursdays, and we got a fun guest tomorrow. We're talking to Nick Whalen of RotoWire. He's kind of a bit of a Milwaukee Bucks expert. They are a fun team right now, so we're gonna have a little Bucks chatter on them.
There you go, and follow him on Twitter at Andy Behrens, and we'll retweet that podcast too for you. Andy, as always, my brother, you are the best. We'll see you on Friday talking a little football.
Thanks, Big O.
You got it, baby. There you go. Andy Behrens, man. Good stuff there. As always, talking a little football with him on Friday, a little basketball with him on Wednesdays. Man, you can't beat that. Can't beat that. I'm telling you, the Nasir Little kid. Check him out. I watched him last night, and I was like, who the hell is this kid? And he's a rookie. 12 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks, a steal, and an assist. Filled up the stat line.
I was gonna just
24
say,
minutes.
That's in 24.
In 24 minutes off the bench.
12,
this
11.
Is the guy. This is the guy they benched for Melo. Drug test everybody on that front office.
What are they thinking?
That's my point. That's my point. Whiteside and now Melo. What is wrong with you over there in Portland?
Do they need to put fannies in the seats with a couple of hardcore Carmelo Anthony fans out there in Portland? I mean,
that can't be that can't be the case, Bill, because when you have Dane Lillard and C.J. McCullough,
you got plenty.
I'd rather watch those guys over Melo 1,000 times over.
I don't understand.
I don't need anything more if you have that backcourt.
I never understood the enamorment with Carmelo.
I mean, either.
I don't get it. Early Carmelo's
right.
one thing.
Well, what Andy was saying is right. Okay, that's fine. But you're right. The Carmelo of the last 7-8 years, give me a break, dude.
He's more of a detriment to your team than a help.
He's a total detriment to your team. The dude shot 4 of 14 yesterday. He committed 5 fouls. He had 5 turnovers. He was minus 20 on the. I mean, if you watched the game last night like I did, he can't play.
No.
All he can do is stand somewhere and wait that the attention coming to everybody else. You dish it out to him so he can get some stupid ass open shot and shoot 4 of 14. And you know what I love? He hits his first 3, and it goes all over social media. Melo's back. And then by the end of the night, it's like, okay, Melo's back what?
4 of 14.
Melo's not back.
Did you see his lack?
That was a joke.
Did you see his lack of hops?
Yes.
He had no hops, man.
Because he doesn't work at it, bro. He doesn't work at it. All he works on is just shooting. That's it. It's a shame, man.
You know, it's funny you say that. Every time we've seen him in the gym, any of these, he's working out, he's doing this. It is exactly that. Him just shooting a shot, man.
That's all. Because that's all he does. And the problem is that people still are in love with the old Melo, and they still think he can shoot. And he cannot shoot. He's no longer a great shooter. Yes, there was a time that Carmelo Anthony was a great shooter. And let me tell you something. That developed into his worst enemy because he failed to work at anything else in his game. Now, why work on the post? Why assist? Why defend? Why rebound? Why do anything else? You know what I mean? And that's where he just fell in love with one phase of his game, and then a lot of people also fell in love with that one phase because he was really good at it, but he never bothered to work at everything else.
Yeah, and there's only, 10, 11 other aspects of basketball on the court than shooting.
Yeah, you're never going to get me to be a Melo guy. I get what he was, but he hasn't been that in so long that it's a joke. It really is.
Where I got turned off was the Denver handling of the situation, and then going to New York and not really caring about anything other than the money he was getting, and not wanting to go to a winner or anything. And it was just, and you know what? Let me point out the Olympic thing. My point was the 4 that he played for. There was a time when it wasn't cool to go to the Olympics. It wasn't cool to be on the. It wasn't about them winning or what he did to the team or any, but him being committed to the Olympic team, because that was the thing that a lot of people. Let's face it, man, they weren't doing it for a while. That's why we fell off the map.
Yeah,
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But redeeming that's it, man. What else has this guy done?
Yeah. He's does nothing for me. And I'm watching that yesterday, and it's like, why? Why are we even dealing with this? This guy is not the answer. Anyway, you want to get into the accidentlawfirm.com text line? It's 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105. We do want to remind you that our show is proudly brought to you by Craig Zins, Acura of Pembroke Pines, the finest Acura dealership in the business, baby. And you got to get on down to 15601 Pines Boulevard, just off of I-75 in Pines. Let me give you some lease features right now. We still have a couple 2019 models in. The ILX, $199. That's a great price right there. The TLX, $259. The RDX, $329. The MDX, $369, only $29.99 do it signing, plus tax tag and registration, folks. Tell them that Big O sent you. They will take care of you at Craig Zins, Acura of Pembroke Pines.
Thinking about buying or refinancing a home? Act now. Home values are ticking up. Don't put off making a move any longer. Call Michael Kodsey now at Choice Mortgage Bank, 561-441-2730, while mortgage interest rates are still at historical lows. Call now to get pre-approved and buy your dream home. If you're currently paying over $800 a month for rent, call 561-441-2730 now before interest rates go up. Down payments as low as 3.5%. Veterans may qualify for no money down. If you own a home, but you're upside down, Michael Kodsey can help. If you're being denied by your bank or your loan process is taking too long, call 561-441-2730. Act now while fixed rates are still under 3.5%. Offices in Boca and Boynton Beach. Rates and terms subject to change daily without notice. Equal housing lender. NMLS 122081.
No one expects to get into a crash, but I expect you to go to accidentlawfirm.com if you do. Make sure when hiring a driver, you go through a rideshare app so that you can be covered by the insurance, which can be up to $1 million whether you're a passenger or a driver. In other words, don't try to save a few bucks by paying cash instead of going through the app. I'm attorney Bobby Nunez from Nunez Law in Miami, and we're here to help you through the process. Go to accidentlawfirm.com for a free consultation from me, Bobby Nunez. That's accidentlawfirm.com.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Welcome back.
This is the Big O Show.
Oh, yes. What's it called? We've got Michelle Kaufman. She's going to join us at the top of the hour. So we'll talk with her. We'll have our Inter-Miami report here on the program. See, we talk our Dolphins, we talk our Heat, we talk our Marlins, our Panthers, our Canes, Inter-Miami. We cover it all here on the program. We got a lot of things to talk about with Michelle Kaufman. We got the Heat back in action tonight against the Cavs. Remember, whenever you're listening to the podcast, you can always reach out to us on the accidentlawfirm.com text line at 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105 if you want to get in on the program. Looking forward to the Michelle Kaufman segment because there's so much that went on with Inter Miami yesterday, and it was cool to see the environment there too and the buzz in Coral Gables by their offices, and having all this go on. Like I told you initially on the show, I think we're blessed to be able to have all these different sports now in town, and we're going to get to add the 5th major sport to this country next year with our own MLS team, and I think it's going to be awesome. It really is, man. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be very successful this time around.
What was our first season with the Heat? 87, 88, right?
Yes, 88, I want to say.
Okay, so we're 32 years removed from a one-horse town, the Dolphins. That's it.
Yes.
And in 32 years, now look, we have the full gamut.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great. And, listen, our college football team's pretty good. It's not the national championship power it used to be, but it's still pretty good. So we have some high-level college football in town, too. We're really lucky here in South Florida. We really are. Not only do we live in paradise, and we've got our great weather all year around compared to a lot of places around the country that got to be shoveling snow and stuff. We are blessed. We are very, very blessed. And for me personally, I love it because I can talk any sport. I don't care because I'm a sports guy. I'm a true sports guy. I follow everything. I may not be an expert in hockey. I may not be an expert in the MMA and all that. Hell, even with the MLS, I don't really know the league thoroughly yet. I stopped really following MLS hardcore when we lost to Fusion. Because once we didn't have a dog or a horse in the race, as they say, I was like, yeah, why am I going to... I follow the MLS, but casually. I can't tell you all the players and the coaches and all. Now, by the end of next season, I'll know it all. I'll follow everything. I'll know everything. I'll know everything about transactions and trades and all that good stuff. And I'll know the teams, and I'll know the coaches, and I'll know the moves, and I'll know who's in free agency, and I'll know what they can go after. I'll study up on all that like I have to. Right now, I haven't had to do that, and when I follow it, it's half-ass. I have to be honest. It hasn't been hardcore. Now, I will get hardcore because now we have, a horse. Hell, I used to play MLS fantasy. Those were the early days of computer fantasy, and Yahoo had an MLS fantasy game. In fact, I remember one year I was in 9th place out of like 400,000 people playing MLS fantasy. Okay? Seriously.
The only thing I was going to ask is how many of those 4,000 whatever 400,000 were participating actively in their MLS team?
They were. All of them, I bet.
I'm
you know
just
why?
messing with you,
No,
man.
but you know why? If you're crazy enough to go play MLS fantasy, you've got to be intense.
You know what?
If you're the fact that you just went to even go look for MLS fantasy in the late 90s, early 2000s, are you kidding me? Yes.
You know what? I can remember
hardcore.
a time how intensive we were fantasy, hardcore,
Right.
us. XFL fantasy. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they
sir?
They did it that one year. They did it that one year. In fact, there was a guy locally that put together an NASL fantasy a couple years ago. So when the Miami FC were in their run, I didn't get to join, unfortunately, because I didn't find out about it in time. But I wanted to join it the following year. The problem was Miami FC ended up dropping out, and the NASL folded. And so now, obviously Miami FC is still around, but the NASL is no longer there. So that was gone. But I would have tried that too. What the hell? But next year I'll play MLS Fantasy. I will. There's no doubt in my mind I'll play MLS Fantasy next year. Maybe we'll have an MLS fantasy segment on the show. What the hell? I mean, there's a lot of things I want to add. It's not just going to be our talk show. We're going to add some other things for you guys that I'm working on. But everything with time. Everything with time. We've grown a lot in a very short amount of time as it is, and that's thanks to all of you and our amazing sponsors that have gotten behind this and believe in this. That's because on demand is normal now. It's our lives. And that's what's pretty cool about this whole situation, that it's kind of worked out that way, that we can do the whole on-demand thing. Anyway, we got the Panthers win last night against the Flyers 5-2. Thursday, they take on the Ducks. Tonight, the Cavs are in town to take on the Heat, an opportunity for Miami to improve to 10-3. We had Inter Miami with their expansion draft yesterday, and they picked 5 players. We'll talk about that with Michelle Kaufman at the top of the hour. What else do we have going on in the world of sports that we can talk about? Well, we did talk about Antonio Bryant apologizing to the Pats, which was just a little bit of a trip there. The other thing I saw in basketball was Kawhi Leonard. He has now missed 3 games, and he had an injury where he banged knees with a player from Houston, so he's been out, and he's questionable for tonight against the Celtics. You know that we're about 12, 15, 14 games, whatever it is, into the NBA season. And the Clippers have yet to debut Kawhi Leonard and Paul George together. Think about that.
That's a good point, because Paul just got there this weekend, right?
Right. We're close to 1/4 of the season, and they have yet to put those two guys together on the court. Now, Paul George obviously was recovering from his off-season surgery. Now he's recovered and he's playing. And here's the interesting part. They played last night. Now you're going to play again tonight, so that means Paul George is playing on a back-to-back night already. That's kind of interesting, if I'm correct, right? I'm pretty sure they played last night, right? Because I'm going off memory, or was it the night before that Paul George played? I think he did play last night, because I have him on my fantasy team. No, it was the night before. My bad. It was the night before that they played. Okay, so he's not playing on a back-to-back, so it's not so bad. And also that would probably, if Kawhi was healthy, it probably wouldn't happen, because maybe they don't play Paul George on a back-to-back night.
From a fantasy standpoint, I'm looking forward to tonight. I got a full roster, 10 guys in. The guy that I'm playing against, I had 3 on Monday. He had, 8. Last night I had 4. He chimed in with 8 again. Tonight, the role reversal, he's got like 4 or 5. I'm down by 100 and something points. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's that schedule thing.
Okay. So we got all of that going on, and so they haven't debuted those two guys together. Okay, and you look, and this is why when people were questioning why Kawhi is taking a night off, and they're taking off this night, and it's a national game, and he had back-to-back national games. Remember, one was on ESPN, the other one was on TNT. He didn't play the ESPN one; he played the TNT one, which really doesn't matter which one you played as long as you played one of them. But the people that were picking on Kawhi and saying that he's wrong, after what you watched last year, how he paced himself, how he missed 20 games on purpose, and he prepared himself for the playoffs. And he actually got injured also in the playoffs and had to play through that injury in the playoffs. And now he bangs knees, and he's been out for 3 games. He's questionable for tonight because he's dealing with a bone bruise in that knee. This is why you got to take a step back and kind of check yourself before you wreck yourself. Because you're not the player. You're not the one dealing with the injuries. Hell, don't you know your body? When you wake up in the morning and maybe you have a back issue, a knee issue, whatever it is, some kind of an old injury, maybe there's humidity in the air, it gives you, knee pains or something, whatever. You kind of know your body. and you know when things are going to work or not work, and you know when you woke up in the right side of the bed or you didn't or whatever. Same thing. It's the same. There's no difference whatsoever. You know your body, and you know when you can do certain things and when you can't do certain things, right? I mean, I forgot what it was the other night that I wanted to do, but I was just too tired. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to turn it in, man. I just can't, because I knew my body, and I knew that I forgot what it was that I wanted to do, and I knew I wasn't going to enjoy it because I was going to be too tired. And I said, you know what? I'll pass up, and I'll do it another time, and whatever. And that's because I know myself, and he knows himself. And so he's banged knees now, and he's kept himself out for 3 games. And this is what comes with the territory. And you have to know that as a consumer. You have to know that as a basketball fan. If you're a season ticket holder, and if you're a season ticket holder of the Clippers, you have to understand you're not going to see Kawhi Leonard in every game. And Kawhi Leonard is a little bit injury prone. He's a great player, but you got to fight through those injuries with him. And because of what he suffered a couple years back, clearly it's been, career altering for him, right? Because he's no longer the same player he used to be, that he didn't worry about injuries and he was playing every night and all of that. Whatever happened to him a couple years ago in San Antonio, that clearly was a problem that has lingered. And to his credit, I love the fact that he has stood strong by this and has not given in from the pressures from you and me and anybody else that wants to say, well, no, you're supposed to be out there and playing. No, you're not. You made an agreement with your employer, the Clippers. They knew that you would have to pace yourself. They knew that you would have to put his health in front of playing time or killing yourself to win games. And having said all that, what are the Clippers right now? Where are they in the standings? Just out of curiosity, I want to pull that up because I don't think they're that bad in the standings. I think they're actually doing all right. They're 9-5. They're 3 games out of first place from 12-2. And they have not debuted both guys on the court. Remember, this is a team that made the playoffs without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And you just added 2 superstars to a team that already made the playoffs in the Western Conference. So they're pretty good as it is as a supporting cast. You give them just 1 star, there you go. They're not the bottom of the conference in the playoffs. They're in the middle of the conference right now in the playoffs.
I like the fact we're 2 games better than them.
Yeah,
we're 9-3. They're 9. I know. Hey, but still, look at where we're at. Look at the company we're keeping. Yeah, but
they haven't played with their stars on a night-out basis. They wouldn't be 9-5 if those 2 guys were playing. If those 2 guys were playing, they'd be right there with the Lakers probably at 12-2.
Because of this load management thing, do you think that they're going to kind of do that bit of a, like stay there? They're not going to worry about going after the 1, obviously, with the load management.
Yeah, I think they'll pace themselves and they'll do what they have to do. They'll coach and play to win any game possible, but they're not going to be winning every game possible because they're not going to be at their best every single night. And again, it's about pacing yourself and getting to the playoffs. Because in the end, your roster's better than the Rockets and better than the Nuggets and even better than the Lakers. And they're in front of you. But you'll eventually pass those teams up. Or if you face them in the playoffs, you can beat them. It's not the end of the world. So, and with Kawhi Leonard, it's not like you ever have to worry about that. Here's a guy that's won in 2 different cities already. And he can handle all of that. The one thing you have to let him handle his body. That's all. Let Kawhi Leonard manage his body, and you'll be fine. That's intelligence. That's a smart move by the Clippers. All right, let's just take a page from what the Raptors did, and it worked for them. we're going to do the same thing because we know we have the best player on the planet. All we have to do is make sure we get him healthy to the playoffs. And whatever seed it is, we'll work through it, and we'll figure it out. At least you want to be top 4 if you're the Clippers. That way you have home court in the first round, and you move on, and then you can build up from there. That's all. It's pretty simple. If you want to get in on the accidentlawfirm.com text line, it's 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105 if you want to get in on the program as we take you till probably around 2:30, 2:40, a little bit after Michelle Kaufman does her thing. She'll join us at the top of the hour like she normally does with her Inter Miami report. And Inter Miami had a lot of things going on yesterday. So we've got a lot of things to talk about. As says here a headline, Le'Veon Bell balks at ongoing HGH testing. Wonder what that means on that one. So that's an interesting headline there. For random testing to be truly random, every player must be subject to testing at any time, with no clue as to when his number may come up. A truly random process includes the possibility that one player's number will come up repeatedly. That apparently has happened to Jets running back Le'Veon Bell, whose number has come up 5 times for HGH testing. Bell isn't happy about that because HGH testing requires a blood sample. I've done about 5 random HGH blood tests in 10 weeks, Bell said on Twitter earlier this morning. I'm not doing another after today. Whatever you all looking for obviously ain't there, and I'm not about to keep allowing y'all to stick me with those dirty-ass needles. Find the player who really does HGH, BS, and get off me. Players often complain about being required to repeatedly submit to PED urine testing. The chances of HGH blood testing are even more remote, with only 40 players in the entire league being tested each week. Wow. So if you've done it 5 times to him in 10 weeks, I'd be pissed too. I'd be pissed too. In fact, I remember I got pissed at a nurse. I don't know when it was. It was one of those times that I was in the hospital for my heart thing. And I remember I had gone back and forth to the hospital a couple times during that month. And one of the times, every time you go, what do they do in the hospital? They always take your blood, right? So I get this nurse that starts using me like a freaking pincushion. And it's here, and it's there, and it's there. And I'm like, hey, what's going on here? And my wife sees it. And my wife, nobody knows me like my wife, okay? She's been with me 30 years. So she knows that I'm about to blow up on this person. So she goes, hey, stop right there. Don't poke him one more time. Please go get your supervisor. Go get somebody else. You cannot do this anymore. You've been poking him 5 or 6 times, and you can't find the vein. And I'm kind of like looking at my wife like, thank you. Because I was just about to let her have it. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Are you a pro or not? Can you find and then the next person came, boom, 1 shot. That really pisses you off. The one person and it's a skill. Don't get me wrong here, okay? Because I've been to enough hospitals. I've been through all this crap enough to know that there is a skill to being able to find the vein and being able to just boom and not have to just like, hey, because sometimes they don't even take the whole needle out. They just move it to one way and then take it back out halfway and then move it that way. No, I'm not getting it. And you're like, what the hell's going on? It got to the point where they were taking out on my knuckles because that's where you could find easy veins apparently. Man. So I understand what Le'Veon Bell is kind of going through. You know what I mean? And you've been tested 5 times in 10 weeks, and they don't. Now, this whole they're not using dirty-ass needles, man. You don't have to throw that out there. I'm sure every time they get a needle, it's coming. They open the package like right in front of you because they do that for all of us. It's not like they're picking it up from,
no, go get it from a crack house or something like that from an intravenous drug user.
No, man. For this line, I wanted to. It's not like they're getting it straight from Pookie, okay, in New Jack City. Unplugging it from Pookie and then plugging it right into you, okay? They're giving you brand new needles. Give me a break. Now, I am with them. I'd be kind of pissed, too, if you tested me 5 times in 10 weeks. And you're constantly coming in. And who knows? Does the guy doing or woman doing the blood test, are they good at finding the vein? Something tells me that he also snapped because there might have been one of those folks that were really bad at finding the vein. And they're like poking you and poking you and poking. You're like, hey, yo! The hell's wrong with you? Come on, can you do your damn job?
Kind of a public service announcement in the hospital for Crohn's. This went through the same thing and had enough. Had the head nurse come up and say, you're absolutely right, because ultimately it is your vein.
Right.
So in the future, you have that situation, you are totally right to say, hey, get out of here,
Get
me somebody real.
Right. No, but the worst part is the person that follows, boom. That's it. Boom. Over. And you're like, wow, why weren't you here the first time? Because I remember when I was at the hospital also, and they would have to, they already have the thing already plugged into you already, so, they can just check you out anytime. But there were times where they would come in for, they wanted a fresh vein or whatever and all that crap. There was this
no, you can only go so many days because your vein will collapse. So yeah, so many days and that's it.
There was one dude that was awesome. And every time he would walk in the door, I'd go, oh, man, this is great. I'm glad you're here, dude. Because that guy just would come in and boom, every single time. That guy never did it the second time. Never. He'd look at you, okay, bah, and that's it. Blood come out right away. You're like, dude, you're awesome. Thank you, bro. Appreciate that. Because I don't mind. The needles don't bug me. Incompetence bugs me. And that bugs me on every level of life, period. Incompetence always bugs the crap. I don't care if I'm in the drive-thru of McDonald's. Incompetence bugs me. And you're like using me as a pincushion the entire time, and I got 8 holes, and all of a sudden my thing's getting all red and nasty, and it's like, dude, what's wrong with you? That's why they get like, well, hey, we'll do it here in your knuckles, because see my you see it? You can probably from the camera you can see the veins already. So they got him easy on because she sucked. So it's like, wow, I can see the vein there. Yeah, of course, I could do it too, Jagoff. Anybody can poke the vein there.
Usually when you go to surgery, the person setting up your IV for that, usually it's in your hand.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, those are easy to find.
And they're real deal.
Yeah, those are easy to find, man. But I'll tell you this, what is that called again? When they put that stuff, it's not a catheter, right? Is it? No, it's whatever.
Catheter is for your urine.
Urine. Okay, so what the hell is that thing that they put there? What's it called? Whatever. Here hurts more than here. I'll tell you that because there's no fat here. You know what I mean?
Well, you're more apt to feel it because of the hose going into the vein.
Yeah,
yes.
No, I'm telling you.
Right.
I know from experience. I'm telling you from recent experience that it bothers you more here than it does here.
The only thing I will say, because I have 17 days with the Crohn's 2 surgery, when it's up in your arm and whatnot, you're more apt to get bruising and stuff like that, and
bending and all that
because of where it's at. If it's on the back of your hand, you have more movement.
I'm with you all the way. I'm with you. I enjoyed the one on the hand more than the arm, because the arm you can't bend, so you can't scratch yourself or anything. You have to make sure you do it with the other arm. Yeah, the other thing that sucks when you're in the hospital for a long time.
Just scratch with your foot, man.
If you're a side sleeper or you sleep on your chest, you have to learn how to sleep on your back. Oh man, that is brutal. That was brutal. That was a hell of an adjustment for me. All right, 786-322-1105 if you want to get in on the accidentlawfirm.com text line, 786 322-1105. We're going to switch gears. We're going to talk a little football. We're going to talk a little Inter Miami with Michelle Kaufman on the other side. Every week on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock, we do a little Inter Miami report. Michelle Kaufman is next. Before we do that, Toyota of Hollywood has got over 1,500 Toyotas in stock and on sale right now, and they've got the ultimate 2019 model year changeover event. You got to get on down to the finest Toyota dealership in the planet. They're open till midnight every night. And go to 1841 North State Road 7 in Hollywood, just a couple blocks south of that big, giant, beautiful guitar. Get special introductory savings on 2020 models and your last chance to save on all remaining 2019 models at Toyota of Hollywood.
Thinking about buying or refinancing a home? Act now. Home values are ticking up. Don't put off making a move any longer. Call Michael Kodsey now at Choice Mortgage Bank, 561-441-2730, while mortgage interest rates are still at historical lows. Call now to get pre-approved and buy your dream home. If you're currently paying over $800 a month for rent, call 561-441-2730 now before interest rates go up. Down payments as low as 3.5%. Veterans may qualify for no money down. If you own a home, but you're upside down, Michael Kodsey can help. If you're being denied by your bank or your loan process is taking too long, call 561-441-2730. Act now while fixed rates are still under 3.5%. Offices in Boca and Boynton Beach. Rates and terms subject to change daily without notice. Equal housing lender. NMLS 122081.
No one expects to get into a crash, but I expect you to go to accidentlawfirm.com if you do. Make sure when hiring a driver, you go through a rideshare app so that you can be covered by the insurance, which can be up to $1 million, whether you're a passenger or a driver. In other words, don't try to save a few bucks by paying cash instead of going through the app. I'm attorney Bobby Nunez from Nunez Law in Miami, and we're here to help you through the process. Go to accidentlawfirm.com for a free consultation from me, Bobby Nunez. That's accidentlawfirm.com.
America's safest and best-selling compact luxury SUV is at Acura of Pembroke Pines, and this is how we do it. RDX, $339 a month at Acura of Pembroke Pines, the #1 volume Acura dealer.
This is the Big O Show. 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 This is the Big O Show.
Let's rock and roll. Hour number 4 of the program, and we promise you we do it every week at this time at 2 o'clock. The great Michelle Kaufman is always kind enough to join us here to talk a little football, a little soccer, Inter Miami style. And yesterday was a huge day for Inter Miami, so she's kind enough now to join us and talk a little bit about that. Michelle, good afternoon.
Hello, how are you?
I am doing exceptional. Yesterday, checking out all the buzz, seeing the stuff on TV, on social media. Looked like folks were having a lot of fun yesterday in Coral Gables.
Oh yeah, I mean it was quite a scene. If you look at the my stories online or on the front page of the paper today, there were hundreds of fans. Totally, I mean we got a very good glimpse at what this team is going to, at the fans, what the atmosphere is going to look and sound like, and it's going to be loud, and there's going to be smoke, and there are going to be drums. And there are going to be a lot of chants in English and in Spanish. The supporter groups were out in full force in pink and black with gigantic banners, smoke blowing, drums banging, all kinds of chants that they've already invented in English and Spanish. And it was wild. It was a pretty wild scene for an expansion draft party. So just seeing that atmosphere there, it really made it very real and very tangible. Each week now, last week I went to the stadium site where they're building in Fort Lauderdale, so that made it a little more real for me.
Right.
And now yesterday, seeing all the fans, and they had, a few of the players that they've already signed were there, meeting and greeting with the fans, and then, the fact that they signed 5 more players from the draft, that they picked 5 players. So, things are looking and feeling very real now, finally.
So let me ask you, because you and I have a little perspective on all of this. When you think back on the Fusion days to now, what's the differences you're seeing already?
I think the league has just really grown up. The league is an adult now. It was a child back then. So I think, there was excitement for the Fusion. I'm not going to say there wasn't, but the league was much smaller. The league was new. The organization didn't have the kind of money and the kind of experience that this organization has, nor did the league. So, now the launch of this team is, it feels like the launch of a major league team, whether it be an NBA team, an NFL team, or a soccer team. It's first class. They had, all kinds of kiosks. Heineken was the sponsor. There were shirts and hats and banners and drums and, everything with the team logos on it. And it just, they were broadcasting live from there. They had a set, with a hostess and it just looked and felt very professional. And Miami Fusion was much more of a mom and pop type operation. Ken Horowitz did everything he could. He was a single owner, but the league was smaller. It was not as professionally run as it is now. Now the league is 25 years old. It's completely different. They know what they're doing. It's big money. People are spending a lot of money to get these teams, and it showed. Just in the draft party last night, it felt big time. I don't know how else to say it, but it felt big time. It felt major league. It felt like Major League Soccer, capital M, capital L.
I love it. All right. And by the way, you could follow Michelle Kaufman, catch her work at the Miami Herald website at your doorstep, and follow her on Twitter at Kauf Sports. If you're an Inter Miami fan and you want to get the inside scoop on it, you got to follow Michelle. All right, Michelle, yesterday was the expansion draft, and our beloved Inter Miami had the first selection. Walk us through the 5 selections.
Yeah, they picked 5, and according to the sporting director, Paul McDonough, they plan to keep all 5 because sometimes in the past, expansion teams will pick 5 players and then immediately trade them for assets or whatever. He said that their plan is to keep the 5 players, that the philosophy was very similar to what he did in Atlanta, which is their first people that they signed early on were young teenagers from South America, 19 years old, who all have great potential. Were already being scouted by top European clubs. So they bring in these young South American teenagers to groom them, develop them, and, they obviously will be good players and then someday probably sell them to bigger clubs. So that was kind of step 1 in his putting the team together. And then now they're trying to add MLS experience because no matter how you slice it, no matter which famous players they get, those guys have never played in MLS. And, you need a core of the team. He said he'd like to have 10 players on a roster of 30. He'd like to have 10 players who have MLS experience, who are veterans of the league, who know how the league works, know how it operates, know some of the opponents, know what the stadiums feel like, what the turfs feel like, and even travel. Some of the guys who have come here from other countries, even if they're very good players, they're generally coming from small countries where traveling to road games is not that big a deal when you're in Italy or Spain or France or in South America. But when you're in the United States, you're playing for Inter Miami, you're going to have games in Seattle, you're going to have games in Vancouver, you're going to have games in Portland, all over the country. You're going to cross 3 time zones, all different kinds of weather. So anyway, they wanted a good core of MLS players with MLS experience. That's what he was going for last night, especially with the first 3 picks. So the number 1 pick, they got a guy actually with Florida roots, a guy named Ben Sweat. He's 28 years old, so he's no youngster, but he's not old yet either. And he's a native of Palm Harbor, Florida. He played at USF, and then he played in Europe before he joined MLS, and he's from NYCFC from New York. And he's also played a couple of games for the U.S. national team last year. He's a defender. And then on the other side of the back, they also took another defender, Alvis Powell, who is a Jamaican national team player. He's a veteran, 25 years old, usually plays right back. He's played 134 MLS matches, first with Portland for 3 years and then with Cincinnati last year. And he's a Jamaican guy, tough, really good players. He's played 46 games for the Jamaican national team. So he's a guy with experience. He's going to obviously also appeal to the Caribbean market down here because there's a huge Caribbean fan base. And I saw a lot of them last night at the fan party. So that was, that's a guy that they were also interested in. And then the third guy, the number 3, is also someone that Paul McDonough said he's always been interested in. He's known him for a long time, which is LAFC midfielder Lee Nguyen. And it's Nguyen. Everyone pronounces it different. But anyway, he's a Vietnamese-American dual citizen. He's 33 years old. So he's a guy who has a lot of experience. He played in Holland. He played in the Danish league in Denmark, and then he came to the New England Revolution. He played at the Revolution from 2012 to 2018, and then last year he was on LAFC. It was actually a pretty key player for them. The fans out there were not happy to see him go. He's also played 9 games for the U.S. national team. So he's a guy, Paul McDonough said, he's a great guy for the locker room. He's also a very technical player. He said the fans here are going to love the way he plays because he's a real technical player. He's going to fit in what we're trying to do. So he said it was very important for him to get him. He really wanted to get that guy at number 3. So then the 4th pick is another midfielder, Luis Argudo from the Columbus Crew. And the 5th pick was a goalkeeper that probably will not be their starter, Brian Meredith of the Seattle Sounders. But he said most teams carry 3 or 4 goalies, and they didn't have any at this point. So this is a guy who's played on Seattle, which is a really good, solid team, someone who has been with a very good club and been training with very good coaches for the last few years. So that's the 5th pick. So they've got those 5 guys. They've already signed 9 before that. So they have 14
now,
on the roster.
Let me ask you something.
Yep.
Let me follow up on the goalie thing. And again, this comes from pure ignorance because I don't know a lot about this stuff. It seems like it's really hard to acquire goalies. So he had to get one for now, right? Because like he says, he doesn't have any at this moment. So that seems to be a difficult position to fill. Is that a deal? Is that the deal?
It is because there aren't as many of them, obviously, just by numbers. But I think they will get an international goalie. This guy will be more of a backup. I think they are looking at some international goalkeepers, to bring in. They can still sign several international. They have several international spots left on the team, including the 2 DPs, which, by the way, Paul McDonough said last night they are in negotiations with 2 particular players. And, they are expecting this to happen again, before the end of the year, sometime in December. As far as the coach, I know that's always the next question. The coach, he said, we are in active negotiations. We are in the contract stage is the exact words he said. We are in the contract stage with the coach. And he said that is going to happen in the next couple of weeks. So again, I stand by my prediction that maybe it's Marcelo Gallardo of River Plate, who's a very well-respected coach. He's one of the hottest coaches right now. A lot of European teams are looking at him. Their team plays in Copa Libertadores final this Saturday night, the 23rd. So it's possible that next week or just after Thanksgiving, he would be the guy that they would sign. Santiago Solari is still out there, another guy with big experience and a big name. But, it's going to be interesting. But he said they are in the contract stage with the coach. They are in negotiations with 2 DPs. They've got the 14 guys now between the 5 from last night, and 9 players they had signed before who are mostly going to be role players, but some starters in there who are the MLS guys with some experience and some of the new young South American talents that he's brought in. So it's going to be really a mix. The roster is going to be very similar to what he did in Atlanta, except that the DPs here are going to be higher profile names because this is Miami, and we accept nothing less than glitz and glamour. So the DPs here are going to be bigger names than they were in Atlanta. But other than that, he's following the same formula, the same recipe that he did there, which is bring in a few really talented South American teenagers that the European clubs are already scouting, bring them here, groom them, let them play a year or two, and then they will be, good assets to sell to Europe later. Then bring in a certain core of, 5 to 7 really good MLS players that have experience at different positions, and they can help integrate the foreign players who come, and then fill the rest of the roster with international players and a couple of DPs. So, it's really happening. I mean, there doesn't seem to be any sense of panic. I know the fans are probably thinking, okay, it's November 20th. They're supposed to start camp in January. They don't even have a full roster. They don't have their DPs. They don't have a coach. The field is just being laid down. They don't seem worried. They seem very excited. They seem like they have everything under control.
Is it important for them, because you talked about them getting a couple players that maybe they develop and then they sell out, and I get the business side of all of that. How important is it for them to have a guy that maybe is young and grows up here so the fans can kind of identify with the guy? Because I don't think you want to be a transient team where you're constantly turning over a roster. I would imagine you want to find a player or two that can grow from being young to old on this team and can really, like, everybody will be wearing his jersey for a long time, that kind of stuff. How important is that for them to accomplish?
Yeah, I think they definitely want to do that, and whether that comes from one of those young South American players or from their own academy. They've got the academy going, and they have a U19 team there. If there's somebody who's local from that academy who really stands out, who maybe gets a one spot on the senior roster, and it's somebody who grew up in South Florida, played club soccer down here, a true local would be really good for them to get. And then, or one of these South Americans, 2 of the players are from Argentina, 1 is from Venezuela. So those are 2, areas where there's a lot of talent and a lot of fans in this market. And if they, take one of those players, and if they, groom them, develop them, if they break into the starting lineup, and even if they get lured by some teams in Europe, if Inter Miami can keep them, 1 or 2, I think that would be great for the growth of the team. I think the team is going to be a really good mix. I think their goal is they block out all the fans who are just saying, sign this guy, sign that guy, and what about this guy, what about that guy? Paul McDonough, this is what he does 24/7. He's sitting there. It's just like with the NFL draft or anything else. The fans, it's fun for the fans and media to make our mock drafts and think what we would do. But the truth is, this is their livelihood. This is what this guy is thinking about 24/7. And he's got a board, just like, an NFL draft board. He's got a board there, and he's trying to figure out, what's the lineup going to be? What kind of formation are we going to have? What kind of, and obviously the coach that they get is going to have input in that. And I would not be surprised if the coach is already having some input into what's being done. But at this point, there were some fans who have written me or asked me, like, how can they draft all these players when they don't even have a coach? But the coaches that they're really looking at are outside of this country. They don't know who the players who are left unprotected in the MLS numbers, players number 13 to 23 on a roster. A guy in South America or a coach in Spain has no idea who they are or how they play. Let's be honest, not to be rude to these MLS players, but those guys just don't have any experience with these players. So they are letting Paul McDonough, who does have experience, he has a lot of contacts in the league. He's already put together 2 teams. So I think the coach, whoever it may be, whether it's Gallardo, Solari, or somebody else, whoever it is, is probably in contact with them, and they're just waiting for the proper time to announce him. But in the meantime, they're saying, okay, I want players who do this, or I want an attacking type of this, or I want this type of defender, I want this. And then they let Paul go find within MLS who fits that mold. And then he did say that the coach who is going to be coming in the next couple of weeks, was the quote, that coach will be involved then in helping put together the remaining parts of the roster. So that's the international players. The international players and the DPs, this coach will definitely have a say in those decisions.
Do they know what kind of team they want to be? Or is that something they wait for the philosophy from the coach? Or
they're going to be an attacking team. They're going to be they're going to be very attacking, offensive-minded team. I mean, they said that they know that that's Miami. Miami wants, spice. Miami wants excitement. Miami wants scoring. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a technical team and an attacking team.
Okay, I like it. Michelle Kaufman, of course, from the Miami Herald, covers Inter Miami on a daily basis. Make sure you follow her on Twitter at Koff Sports. And, of course, more importantly, catch her here every Wednesday at 2 o'clock. And we podcast the segment as always. It is a very popular downloaded segment. The other thing is Paul McDonough was making moves. They have the first and third pick now that they acquired from the college super draft. Tell us about that.
Yeah, they did. They acquired the number 3 pick. They already had the number 1 pick. Now they also have the number 3 pick. And again, Paul McDonough has coached in college. He's been an agent. He's been a GM. He's been on all sides of the desk, all sides of the table in this sport. And so he has his eye on some college players. And I talked to him recently about college players, and he said, a lot of people feel, the college game, you're not really going to get any talent there. But he disagrees. He feels that there are players who went the college route who are definitely worth it if you get the right ones, that they would be a good blend. And, plus they understand the American soccer system and all that. So I think he has probably 2 players in mind, and, that really he feels would be able to help the team. And so they went ahead, and I think they spent $150,000 in allocation money to acquire the number 3 pick. So they have the number 1 overall pick and the number 3 pick. That draft is at the beginning of January.
That's interesting. So money is all it took to acquire that 3rd pick.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So the fact that 150 that doesn't sound like a lot of money to acquire. They must not respect this draft. To be
they don't. The college draft, right? The expansion draft is considered a more successful draft than they've gone and showed that the number of college players who have been drafted versus the number who actually have played in an MLS game is not that great. And the truth is, in this sport, it's just like tennis, where the best players, for the most part, do not go to college. The best players, for the most part, turn pro. And go play, whether it's in Europe, South America, or in MLS or whatever. They don't go to college. So the guys who go to college, some people feel are 4 years behind because they're not playing against professionals every week. They're playing against college players, and they're being coached by college coaches, not by international coaches. So, but there still are diamonds in the rough there, and that's what Paul McDonough really believes, that there are some diamonds in the rough. And I forget the name of the guy. He did take a guy with Atlanta that he took from the college draft who turned out to be, a key player on that team. So, he fully believes that there are college players to be found, and they're cheap, $150,000 to get the number 3 pick. So, he really feels that you can get a bargain basement player who may turn out to be really good if you happen to get the right guy. There are a lot of players playing in college. But in general, they've tended to go toward international players over college players.
The other 9 players they acquired, is there any nuggets you can tell us about any of those?
What were you saying? I missed that part. You said the other 9 players?
Yeah, they signed 9 players, apparently. So outside of those 5 that they got in the expansion draft, can you tell us about any of the other players that they also signed?
Yeah, well, the ones they've signed have been a mix of, like I mentioned before, they signed the 3 19-year-olds from South America. So there's a forward, Julian Carranza, and a midfielder, Matias Pellegrini of Argentina.
Right.
Pellegrini is actually a DP. He's one of the 3 DPs on the team, but he's called a young DP because he's under 21 years old or under 20. I forget what the cutoff is. But he, for that reason, his salary, it doesn't really count as much as it does with the older players who come as DPs. So it's an economic decision that, but he's a guy.
So what you're telling me, you're telling me is Pellegrini's contract is watered down. Get it? Pellegrini, water.
Oh, wait, I just lost you. Go ahead. Pellegrini's contract.
I just said a bad joke. I said, so you're telling me
Hello?
that you hear me? You hear me,
Are
Michelle?
you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
You
wait,
got me?
go ahead.
You got me? Yeah,
Okay.
I was just saying.
Say it again about Pellegrini's contract.
I was just saying that. So you're telling me that Pellegrini's contract is watered down. Get it? Pellegrini, water. All right, forget it.
Hello?
Yes, we're losing her.
No, I don't
on
know
all
what
that.
happened.
I don't know.
Are you there?
I'm here.
now you're there.
Bad
Okay.
joke. She's just trying to ignore like you didn't say
Okay.
it,
Are
Joe.
you ignoring
No.
my bad joke, or are you like? Are you?
I didn't even hear I did not hear the bad joke.
I said. So you're telling me that Pellegrini's contract is watered down?
Well, Pellegrini's contract.
Does he
because
provide? Will
he's
he
younger,
provide
the way-
water
the way
for the
it-
team
huh?
too? Will he provide water for
Oh,
the
because
team also?
Pellegrini water.
There you go.
Pellegrini water. That is a bad joke.
That is a bad
That's
joke.
a bad joke.
I told you.
Okay, that's a bad joke. Anyway, no, but he's of the 3 guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Of the
I
3
got
guys
you.
from South America, can you hear what I'm saying?
I got you. Go ahead. You're good.
Okay, yeah, I don't know why it's breaking up. Of the 3 guys from South America, Pellegrini is the one who was being the most heavily recruited by teams in Europe.
Okay.
So he's a guy that does, has a lot of quality, as they say in soccer terms. And they're very excited about him. And then they have another guy named Christian Macun, who's a defender from Venezuela, who's also very good and has played, with their national team system and everything. All 3 of those players are guys who were getting attention from European teams. Then the other 6 that they had signed are mostly MLS guys. So one is Victor Aloa that I mentioned to you last week from FC Cincinnati, a veteran midfielder. A young midfielder named David Norman Jr. from Portland. Another midfielder, Jay Chapman from Toronto. Defender Grant Lillard from Chicago. Then George Acosta, who's a Miami native. So we've got 1 Miami native on the team. And the other day they signed a German-American forward, Jerome Kiesewetter, who has played for the U.S. national team. He's a German-American dual citizen. And he actually has played in the Bundesliga, and he's playing for the U.S. national team. He's 26 years old, and he's currently in USL. So he was playing in El Paso. But he's a guy that apparently is a really good player that is MLS level and, was playing USL but could compete for an MLS spot. So those are the other 6 guys, and the 3 from South America, plus the 5 from last night.
Okay, good stuff there. One more thing outside of the main team. Since they are opening up in Fort Lauderdale, when will the USL team start?
That's also supposed to start in the spring, believe it or not. They're launching 2 teams at the same time.
So then, then they will play in what? One Saturday, one plays. The other Saturday, the other plays.
Yeah,
Is that
they'll
what it is?
alternate.
Yeah, that's what it is.
They'll alternate. They'll alternate games. They'll be playing there too. And these players are all for the MLS team. They will have a whole separate roster for the USL team. So we haven't even gotten to that yet. We're just doing the MLS first, and then they're going to do the USL. But they do plan to launch them both in the spring.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. So and some of these players you talked about might be on there, like that one guy that's on the USL. So they're acquiring really for both, because some of these guys are developmental guys, and those are the guys.
Right. Well,
that
they're
going to
get up to 30. Yeah. In the MLS, you have your roster is up to 30 players, and only 18 are allowed for game days. So you have a roster of 30, 18 are for game days, and then there are 12 guys that are not there on the bench on game days. So a lot of these players that they've been getting that people are going, who's that? Who's that? Those are guys that are going to be in the final 12. Some of them. Some of them will be in the 18, and some will be in the 12.
One more thing before I let you go. Willie Gord is out. I forgot who's the guy that got voted in and took over. Is he the pro soccer guy?
He is, from what I have heard and discerned, he is a, quote, from one source, big-time soccer fan.
Oh.
So it's De La Portilla. So apparently what I know about him before on his take on this was he wasn't thrilled with the way that the deal was done, but he is a big soccer fan. That's what I've heard. So he's not going to just push it through. He was not thrilled with the way the deal was done, but he is a big soccer fan.
Okay. All right. Well,
so I think the Inter Miami upper brass was, I wouldn't say turning cartwheels, but they certainly were not crying at those election results. I think they were pretty happy with that election result.
Okay. All right. Interesting stuff.
Yep.
Anything else that we left on the table?
No, I will tell you that the next 2 days, tomorrow and Friday, there's a giant soccer conference in Aventura called Soccer X. And there are 1,800 soccer executives from 80 countries.
Wow.
And it's a who's who. Don Garber will be there speaking. Jorge Mas will be there. CONCACAF General Secretary will be there. And representatives from all kinds of clubs in Europe, Latin America, all kinds of national federations will be represented. I will be there covering it. So it's an annual conference that brings together soccer executives, and they talk.
Our beautiful soccer team. Appreciate
All
the
right,
time.
happy to do it. We'll be in touch. There's more and more to talk about. Now I'm glad there's a lot. I mean, I always talk anyway, even if there's nothing to talk about. But now that we actually have things to talk about, it's even more fun.
I know. We're getting closer and closer. It's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
Thank you, Michelle.
All right.
You got it.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Follow her on Twitter at Koff Sports. Catch her work there at the Miami Herald website. As always, that's another place that you can catch her work there and her coverage of Inter Miami. That's good stuff there, man. Like it. I'm excited. We got players.
There's actual real meat stuff occurring here.
Yeah,
you know,
that's good, man. And we're getting closer, and that means that stadium there'll be a soccer game every weekend, because you'll have an MLS game and then you'll have a USL game the following week. So you can go every week there to go see either the big club or their AAA affiliate, if you want to call it that, if you want to relate to it to baseball or anything along those lines.
understudy.
That's pretty cool, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'll have a kit from each. I'll have my Inter Miami kit, and whatever the hell the USL team is being named, I have no idea what they're going to be called. Since they are in Fort Lauderdale, I wonder what they will call it. You know what I mean? Because eventually they're going to move the team back to Miami, or to Miami eventually, not back because it hasn't been there yet. But eventually it'll be moved to Miami, but the USL team stays there because that's their stadium. That's got to be one of the nicest USL stadiums in the country that they're going to end up having, because they're going to make it nice enough for MLS for the next 2 years. So those improvements will be fantastic for the USL club. And then on top of all of that, you can then bring international events there too. Yeah. So good stuff. One more thing before I let you guys go. Yesterday, I played some sound bites from the last couple of days from Tony Dungy questioning Kaepernick, and what was the other one? Oh, yeah, Stephen A. did an outstanding job of calling out Kaepernick, the phony that he is, because he's a stinking phony. He had no intentions on it. And not that this guy is Mr. Credibility or anything like that, but Jerry Jones was asked on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas about the whole Kaepernick situation, right? And here's what Jerry had to say.
We, of course, aren't in the quarterback business. We're in the business of any time, anywhere, looking for talent, whether we need it now or whether we need it in the future. The way these things work, you have that evaluation for you, whether you're there or not. You have that evaluation. I think that it's unfortunate that you can't just zero in on the business at hand, and that is evaluating a player that might or might not help you win a football game or move the chains within a football game. But that situation from the get-go probably had a lot more that wasn't about football involved in it, and consequently we got the results of that dynamic.
And Jerry was right on target. Look, the owners have played this guy like a fiddle from the get-go, and he's the idiot that has fallen into it all. And his approach and what he did the other day, he ruined every and any I don't think he was going to get one anyway, but the way you went about it was the guys that are blackballing you, you just gave them more fuel to the fire. And then you gave them an out. Because the word distraction is a word that everybody knows that when you follow football, that's the number one thing that coaches hate. They hate they don't want any distractions. They are very routine-oriented in the NFL. They like to do the same things over and over again. They like to have their walkthrough at a specific time, their practices at a specific time, their workouts at a specific time, their games at a specific time. They travel at the exact same time. They do everything, organized. And when you start throwing in any chaotic situation and you start throwing in anything that throws them off kilter and off their schedule, they lose their lunch. I know because I've been there and I've seen it. I've done it. I've covered it. I know it. Okay, I've been all over it for 30 years. And that's what this guy did. He's disrupted everything, whether it's starting with the protests, whether it's everything else that's followed after that. And now you do this. And you're calling out the NFL, and we all know the truth, and this and that. Dude, you went there for a job, not to try to call out your employer. You cannot go to a interview and then go tell the person that's interviewing, hey, I just noticed your floors are dirty. What kind of people do you have here? You definitely need my help because they can't record, and they can't do this, and they can't do that. You think that's the way to get a job? You think that guy's going to hire you or woman's going to hire you right there on the spot? Or they're going to say, who the hell is this person? Get the hell out of here. So you go out and you challenge the NFL. Like, that's not what this is about. We're all smart, dude. We all see that they've blackballed your ass. We know that they've blackballed your ass. But you're a dummy. You don't know how to play the game. You got to learn to be smarter than them. And now all you did was give people like Jerry Jones all the excuses to turn their backs on you. You're a distraction. You're going to come in to be a distraction. It's not about football. It's about being a distraction. And that's what you did. You don't dictate. Nobody that works out for the NFL tells the NFL what field they're going to work on. Nobody that works out for the NFL tells them, I'm going to film it. Nobody does that. So why the hell did Colin Kaepernick think he was going to do it? And whatever waiver they wanted to protect themselves from, that's what you've created, dude. That's the part that you seem to not understand. You had to go there that day to prove that you were not only dedicated to football, you were also dedicated to not being a distraction. That's what they wanted to find out. And you proved to them that you didn't want to play football and that you want to be a distraction. They want to play a game. They're not there to make political statements. They want to stay away from that. They've kind of learned their lesson after all this stuff. They want to stay away from it. They don't need it. They're the NFL. They don't need any of that. They are religion in this country. Yeah. You might be Catholic and you might be Protestant and you might be Jewish but there's a lot of people that study the religion of football. That's their religion. That's a big-time religion in this country. And that sport is so incredible, it overcomes anything and everything and every retirement. It doesn't matter how big the name is. The day Brady retires, football will continue. Because it did after Marino, and it did after Johnny Unitas, and it will continue after every great player that retires. I hated to see Barry Sanders walk away. I couldn't stand watching Walter Payton retire. But it happens. And you got to move on. And we'll move on. Trust me, Colin Kaepernick, you're not big enough a player to be missing. Okay? I still, to this day, miss watching Walter Payton. And he's not a Dolphin. I'm not going to miss Colin Kaepernick, ever. He's not on my radar. That's the part he doesn't understand. He's not Brady. He's not Russell Wilson. Okay? He's not any of those kind of cats. Just not. He's never made that kind of an impact. He had his moment, just like Timmy Smith did in the Super Bowl. But it doesn't mean that you're a great player that made this incredible impact and you're going to remember him forever. No, you're going to remember him for what? For more of a distraction. And that's the part that Colin Kaepernick still doesn't get. Owners look at him as a distraction. Fans look at him as a distraction. Maybe even players inside the league look at it as a distraction. Probably the people in the media that are the companies that own these TV companies and are paying all these enormous rights fees, they probably also look at it as a distraction. Because it's not what people want at that moment. They just want to watch a sport that they love religiously. And they're not there for politics. They're not there for any of that stuff. And I think people have learned that lesson that, yo, man, I came to watch a football game. I just want to get away from this. Okay, I get enough of it when I'm watching CNN and Fox during the week. I'm here on Sunday. I want to have a beer. I want to smoke a joint. I want to have my flask, and I want to walk in and enjoy the game. Leave me alone. I want to be in my club seat. I want to be in my suite. I want to be whatever. I just want to throw the football with my friends outside of the stadium, walk in, enjoy the game, and walk out and talk about the game. I don't want to talk about anything else but the game. I want to be pissed off about the game. I want to be happy about the game. But I don't want to deal with anything else. It's what people have kind of learned. And don't mess with my football. And at this point, Colin Kaepernick did not understand that a lot of people are just tired of that. Yes, there's a fight to be fought for a lot of people in this world, not just this country, not just one type of folks. We got to fight for all kinds of people in the world. We got people starving. We got people dying. We got people being mistreated. We got to fight for them all. But there's a time and a place for it all. And Colin Kaepernick does not understand that. And in the end, he doesn't want to play football. That's what I've been saying for a while now, that he doesn't want to play football. I'm glad that a lot of the country now is finally catching up to what I was seeing through all the BS the last year or two, that guy had no interest whatsoever in playing football. And I'm glad that you had that moment on Saturday, because maybe we can all move on already and just leave this guy behind too. Because he's also useless when it comes to fighting any kind of fight. All right, it is time to wrap it up here on the show. We thank Ian Margol from WPLG. Excellent interview as always. Ian was great. We talked some Panthers. We talked Canes. We talked Heat. It was a good one. When we brought Ian on, we talk Panthers normally, but I know he follows everything, so we bounced around. Fantasy basketball, we do it every Wednesdays now. Andy Behrens was outstanding. That was fun. Michelle Kaufman was excellent as always with the Inter Miami segment. Great information. Bill kicking that ass as always, putting it together every single day. We thank all of you out there for tuning in, whether it's on YouTube, whether you chatted, whether you sent us a tweet, whether you send us a text on the accidentlawfirm.com text line, which, of course, you can send at any time you're listening to the podcast at 786-322-1105. We got the Heat back in action tonight. Canes will be in action tomorrow morning, actually. We'll be on the air when the Canes are actually playing at the same time. They play at like 11:30 tomorrow morning.
Who scheduled that?
It must be some tournament or something, right? I mean, 11:30 it has to be, right?
We haven't played in a tournament, and we're due for one, correct?
Yes.
So,
anyway, it's amazing. All right, we will see you guys tomorrow. We got plenty to talk about. You be good. Be safe out there. Thank you for the support.